Hello and welcome to Staying Home, your revolutionary guide to the Green New Deal. I'm Josh Fox, your host. Today is our Friday show. It's a little bit of a different Friday show. Don Vappy needed the week off for circumstances that were unpreventable. So I am going to deliver the song of the week this week, a little bit of a banjo serenade, a little bit of a new ditty that I made up. And because we've had a little bit of shifting things around, I'm obviously doing the intro at a different location than normal, not in the studio, but in my house. I have a guest right here. It looks like it's coming through. Come here, sweetie. No, you don't want to? Okay, let's go. Sandy is making a guest appearance on Staying Home. We're going to do our little intro together. Yes, kindness to animals, a very important part of the values of being a human being. All right, so we're going to talk about Staying Home. Staying Home. This is Sandy's first appearance on Staying Home because usually we do it in the studio. Anyway, all right, I'm going to put you down, okay, Sandy? Okay. That was unexpected. So today we have a terrific show. We have an amazing new cocktail from Christoph Dornemann, and we have Francesca Fiorentini to come on to speak about politics with me and also do a little comedy as she's always doing. She's incredible. She's very brilliant and witty, and we always love having her on the show. And I think today's important thing to just mention before we get into the festivities is really something that's just been on my mind, and I'm going to take a couple of minutes just to talk about it. And what it really boils down to for me is so many people have these criticisms for Joe Biden, certainly I do too. And certainly we've been left in a very difficult situation as a nation with the legacy of Donald Trump, but also with the legacy of Barack Obama and Bill Clinton. And the problem, to me, boils down to this. The Democrats have been denying the relationship between poverty and injustice. When you deny the relationship between poverty and injustice, you fall into a trap. You fall into Reaganomics, you fall into trickle-down economics, you push Wall Street at all costs, you push corporate domination at all costs, and you don't do the things that provide people in America with economic equality, right? You don't push economic equality. And when you do that, you turn a blind eye to the incredible injustices that happen as a result of enforcing an unequal system. The police brutality, the mass incarceration, the medical debt, the college debt, the student debt. The entire edifice of our society falls apart when we deny the link between poverty and injustice. And that's the problem with these Democrats, with these centrist Democrats. Sandy agrees. She's here. She's clawing at me. Sandy, don't leave my shirt alone. So I want us to think about that and meditate on that for the next couple of weeks. The link between poverty and injustice and how it is being denied by establishment centrist Democrats. Okay, we're going to say, okay, Sandy, come on. All right, this is the end of the introduction. I'm going to do the song of the week. You're tuned in to Staying Home. We'll be right back. It is a great pleasure, as always, to have back on the program my dear friend, a comic genius, a star of the screen and screen, of with a very wonderful red setup you have today and this sort of purple halo. Francesca Fiorentini is back
Hey,
on Staying Home. I was just lecturing people about how they have to stay home still. It's
I
like
was I
our
was just thinking
fear
about
of,
your show and how wonderful it is that it is called Staying Home.
is it what you think it's wonderful?
No, I absolutely do actually. When you first launched it, I was like, well, I mean, how long are we really going to be staying home? And now it's like, no, no, no. Stay
We
home.
meant it.
We really meant
No,
it.
really. Yeah. No, it's strange though because actually during the course of the show we did move from the hinterlands of Pennsylvania to New Orleans. So we were able to adapt to the place where so many people on this show come from. Don Vappy, who had to take the week off. Christoph Dorneman here. And so many of the musicians are coming from New Orleans, and it's wild because I spent the first 7 months of this crisis alone in the woods. And I made a movie about that, about being alone in the woods, which was sort of like,
Was it
me
a
doing
horror?
Henry David Thoreau.
Right.
No, it was amazing.
Was it like
I really
okay,
miss it.
was it Blair Witch, or was there like up the nose shots of you with, night vision? Or was it, I don't know
No.
why I'm thinking of horror. It's got to be a horror film. Or was it more like,
I've actually never seen the Blair Witch Project. In a way, it's a horror film because it does keep tabs on the constant march of COVID in our universe and in our world. So it's there's many segments, and the segments progress through 4 seasons, from winter to spring to summer to fall.
nice.
And it starts as an escape from the coronavirus, and it is almost like a dream. One of the words in the title is dream, although I haven't revealed the title yet because we're still working on the film. But it comes across as a dream, and it's a dream of the Earth kind of healing itself. Because if you recall, during April and May, when there was really we shut the economy down, which is like for the first time in my entire life that the economy was actually shut down. Like that's never happened before in my life.
Right. Yeah.
What was astounding about it was that I saw a blue sky and I saw stars like I've never seen since I was like a little kid, And you realize that we're constantly looking through this veil of pollution, this veil that we don't really know is there, right? And when it lifts, it's like Dorothy waking up in the middle of the Wizard of Oz, like in Technicolor. The moment when the movie goes from black and white to color, and it happened at the moment when spring sort of explodes into the world. So it's a dream of what could be, because as we talk about this program all the time, the coronavirus has now killed probably about 1 million people, which is really unreal. And in this week, thousands and thousands. But the fossil fuel industry kills 5 to 7 million people every year, every single year. So, and
it's what's been crazy about it. I mean, yes, I just not to interrupt you, but what's been crazy is that, I in the beginning of this pandemic was like, wow, nature's coming back and it's so beautiful, and we this is what we have to do to stop climate change. And it absolutely is what we have to do in certain aspects, pull back on, flying, etc. But this was also yet again a record-breaking, global temperature year. And the march toward, climate chaos does not stop, not even in this, once in a lifetime moment. So I'm like, man, we're still losing those ice shelves off of Greenland or wherever, and like the tundra's unfreezing, et cetera, et cetera. So there's a fatalism that, I know you've grappled with, but we really have to push back on and against, because, I went kayaking and I saw like you know, I'd never seen so many otters and seals in this beautiful, like, you know, freshwater little inlet. It was amazing. Or not freshwater, seawater inlet. And the water was this teal color I'd never seen before. And I've done this kayak before, this trip before. And I was like, they are coming back. There are animals coming back, you know, if, you know, humans can just, you know, F off.
Well, but I don't think it's just humans effing off. It's really about the fossil fuel industry, right? I mean, like, the bottom line is, we don't have to be emitting smog. We don't have to be emitting huge amount of pollution. We don't have to be creating single-use plastics everywhere.
Yes.
These are things that we don't have to do anymore. That's what this program is about, right? It's about the fact that the Green New Deal is actually a cure for the disease of the planet. And we have, you know, the project started off, this show started off with me saying every single night that the fossil fuel industry is a cofactor in the death rate of the coronavirus, right? Because if you live where pollution is, you're much more likely to die of coronavirus because you have damage to your body. You might have cancer, you might have lung disease, you might have heart disease. All of those things, the hypertension, actually caused by air pollution, which I didn't even know, right?
Crazy.
And it's not only that, you have a greater chance of getting the coronavirus. Like, coronavirus is more infectious in a place where there is air pollution, a lot of air pollution, right? So
yeah, which correlates to communities of color, which correlates to
all of
you know, food deserts where you have, you know, grocery stores that are more crowded, and, you know, all those things. It's all compounded with environmental racism. And I mean, yeah, talk about taking the black light to our country. That's what it's absolutely doing. Did you see, I wanted to change the subject a little bit, not really, but have you seen I Am Greta?
I haven't yet. I have not watched it. Is it on the TV?
It is on I mean, it's on Hulu. It's on, you know, Amazon, and I can't wait for your searing takedown of Greta Thunberg.
I'm not
going to ruin her. You're going to.
I love
yes,
Greta.
You are. Oh,
no,
you're jealous.
I love Greta, and I love the youth.
I'm just
I
kidding.
love Fridays for Future. I love them all. I mean, what I have been doing is watching an enormous amount of documentaries because I am a member of the Academy. So, and I've just become a member of the Academy. So I'm watching like all the movies. But I have no idea where anything is. Because
hell yeah, you got those screeners. Everyone hit Josh up for the screeners.
Well, okay, but the screeners are cool, right? The screeners would arrive like Christmas. Like, all the movies you ever wanted to see arrive. Because I get to vote on documentaries, documentary shorts, and Best Picture. So all those movies. But what's so fascinating about this year is there's so few Best Picture stuff. And there's like thousands.
It's like Trolls World Tour.
There's
and there's thousands of documentaries. Nice.
Yeah, because the documentaries were all ready. You know what I mean? So the documentaries are now competing, some of them for Best Picture. And I've seen some astounding stuff. But I don't know where it is because it's all on this Academy portal. So I can sign in. And it's like Netflix, but it's just the movies. There's no.
So what's the password for that, Josh?
Yeah.
Could you just
No, I can't tell you. But what I can tell you is that there are some amazing films, and we have had a lot of those people on the programs before. We had David France to talk about Welcome to Chechnya, unbelievable movie.
Damn.
We're going to have Kirby Dick to come on to talk about On
New
the Record, about Russell Simmons, the horrifying story of how Russell Simmons was basically a serial rapist. You know,
good for Kirby Dick. I mean, this is like a continuation of you know, his work. It's just incredible.
Well, I mean, the king of hip hop, but the things that he did to women who he was working with sound just unbelievable.
No, I'm saying the filmmaker. Like, it's a continuation of his work on you know, rape on campus, which was like, you know, there's all these campaigns against him, but he's like continuing the same. I don't know if he worked on Invisible War about sexual assault in the military.
Invisible War.
I mean, this is
and with
incredible.
Amy Ziering, the producer, who is also, by the way, the producer of my film Awake, A Dream from Standing Rock. So Amy and Kirby co-directed this movie, actually. I watched it the other night. It's like mind blowing. So there's a lot of amazing stuff happening, right, in the world of documentary, and yet there's like no feature. I mean, there's a few, and so much of this is because the movie theaters are not open. So the movie have held back a lot of their content. But, you know, there's a film that I want to plug and I shout out. I don't know if I'm able to get the director on, but I want to try, called The Truffle Hunters, which is about these old Italian guys You can appreciate this as paisans, fellow
Yes.
paisan to me. Italian guys in the hills of northern Italy, and they all have these dogs. They're all like old dudes who have no relationships, except one guy does, who's a henpecked truffle hunter. And they go out into the hills with their dogs, and the dogs sniff out the truffles, and they have these incredible relationships with these dogs. They love the dogs so much, and the dogs become characters. And there are evil truffle hunters who are poisoning
Ooh,
their dogs,
rival. Ooh,
poisoning
love
the
it.
dogs, killing them. It's
Just so
horrifying.
that they can get the truffles.
Well, truffles, if you dig one of them up, it's like €1,000
Right.
per one. Like, I don't know who gets to buy $1,000 basically.
No, yeah, you get like
potato.
truffle dust. You get like a little like a chew of truffles, and it's like $45 right there.
They don't really do it for the money. They're doing it because there's this great love they have. It's like people going fishing or hunting or whatever.
Sure.
So
Sure.
that's a phenomenal. I've seen some phenomenal stuff. You're tuned in to Staying Home. We'll be right back. You're tuned in to Staying Home, your revolutionary guide to the Green New Deal. I'm Josh Fox. We're with Francesca Fiorentini. Francesca, I noticed that News Broke has come back. Talk about that. Tell us about that.
Yeah, it's so News Broke is a news comedy show on AJ Plus. It has been around since 2016. It came back for another season in 2020 from my home, and it finished up just after the election. So we did 10 episodes and a live, and it was great. And now we're on hiatus until the new year, hopefully. And just hoping 2021 will be less evil and less awful in any way, or just different.
Less evil. That's a good story. That's a good slogan for a whole year. 2021.
I mean, it really was the slogan for the Biden campaign, less evil. I think that's
kind of was.
Pretty much what it was. Well, and so I'm looking forward to it as a comedian who's so tired of mocking a walking satire like Donald Trump. Getting a Biden administration, getting a Democratic administration is a huge relief. I mean, not just for, children who've been separated from their families at the border, but for comedians like me who are like, want to talk about and make fun of normal problems, So think of us.
We're tired of genocide jokes.
Yeah.
We're tired of extreme abuse jokes. We want to have some normal comedy. Well, let's just, to that end, I want to speak about Neera Tanden. I don't know if you know a lot about Neera Tanden. Neera Tanden was just nominated for the budget office, the Office of Management and Budget Services, or whatever it's called. And this was really a slap in the face to progressives who have been at war with Neera Tanden, including yours truly, on Twitter for a long time now. And I was quoted in The Guardian and in also the Daily Beast saying, this is a very bizarre move for a quote unquote healing presidency of Joe Biden, to be putting someone on who's such a controversial and such an attack personality on Twitter. She's got 10 times twice the amount of tweets as Donald Trump in the same period of time. She gets into fights with people in the 3 o'clock in the morning. It's just wild. She told me that I wasn't on the platform committee, which I was, and it's obvious and provable. And then she said, I don't know, just all manner of weirdly and insulting things. And yet you have a few people like Barbara Lee and Robert Reich coming out in favor of this person who ran the neoliberal, Center for American Progress, pro-fracking, anti-Medicare for all, against the minimum $15 an hour minimum wage, for cutting Social Security. What's going on there? What do you think? Thoughts?
I mean, I think it is controversial. I mean, the right hates her too, because apparently she also gets into spats with Republicans, which I think we can all get behind because we do. But this is someone who absolutely has been, waiting in the wings and has been wanting a position in a Democratic presidency, wanted to be in the Clinton administration. And I think that the reason some people are for her is because they're hoping that maybe she'll be different, that once now with a little bit more power, suddenly all that, no, we can't have a $15 federal minimum wage, no, we can't have Medicare for all, suddenly that will suddenly flip. And I'm just going to go ahead and call it and say I do not think so. But hey, look, I believe in, calling out people's better angels or whatever the hell the phrase is. It's bizarre though, the way that if you watch any mainstream media, the discussion about Neera Tanden is like, wow, a progressive, super far left.
It's so crazy.
I mean,
She's
once
not
again,
right.
And they're so good at ignoring us, Josh. I mean, it's just like, we are here, we are loud, we are way more relevant, thanks to the work around the Sanders campaign and Bernie Sanders himself. But it's like, how are you going to just ignore the fact that she punches left all the time? All the time.
That's what look, I'm really worried about the continuation of the punching left, right? I'm actually going to make a short film in the next couple of weeks called Punch the Environmentalist, which is basically a recap of what the last couple of months of the Biden campaign was, right? It was considerably, because it comes from the 60s when the idea was punch the hippie. They called it punch the hippie, right? That in itself is sort of really offensive.
And now it's punch the Nazi, right?
Well, punch the Nazi is not what we're doing, though. It would be great if we were punching the Nazis, right? Sure. It would be great if Joe Biden was constantly punching the Nazis. He's not. But let me just say this. I don't want to be punching anybody. I think we have to try
non-violently
to do
with our
every
words.
Possible thing to start to bridge the gap of the ignorance that's out there right now, and start to bridge the gap of a lot of the hatred that's out there. I mean, what worries me the most right now is that America is in a situation of extreme hate and also increasing economic inequality, poverty, and injustice. And what worries me is that the Obama folks don't recognize that it was Obama's economic policies that got us to Trump, that gave away the working class in this country. What do you think the Democrats have to do now to stop that hemorrhaging? What is your thoughts?
I mean, I think, I've been talking a lot about this on my podcast, The Habituation Room, too. And it's, smarter people than me have answered it, but I really think that everyone from, Linda Sarsour to Chuck Schumer knows from the grassroots to the halls of Congress, Democrats have to deliver something. They have to deliver something for the working class. They have to do it big. So I was talking to Nalini Stamp of Working Families Party recently. She says federal jobs guarantee, just guarantee jobs. There are others who were talking about, obviously, about abolishing a certain amount of student debt, if not all student debt, and how far, how big that would be. Care, like, and one of the things Nalini was telling me, and I think this is really interesting, is beyond just healthcare. Let's talk about universal pre-K, right? These are the ideas that Elizabeth Warren was, lifting up. But it's hard to square the need. And straight up Schumer has said, look, if we do not deliver big, we're going to lose in 2022. And we're going to lose, to a better Trump in the future, or Trump himself again. So the knowledge is there, but it's hard to see with someone like Neera Tanden, and not everyone else, but, it's like, where's the visionary part of it? Like, who's the one with the big ideas? Because these are the people who've sort of been the custodians of the status quo for so long.
And they don't have a lot of those big ideas. I mean, the fight that I got into with Neera Tanden was over the yellow jackets. If you remember the yellow jackets
of France.
France. When they all went out and they burned a lot of stuff down, huge protests. And the reason why the yellow jackets were in the streets, there were a couple of things. One, they were anti-immigration, which is a huge problem. French racism, French all of that, French purity, blah, 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 which is an issue. But the main reason why they went berserk was because Emmanuel Macron was enforcing a carbon tax. And that carbon tax was raising the price of diesel fuel for truck drivers. And so basically what they were doing is pushing their climate policy on the backs of the poor.
Right.
And when I said this was outlandish and we shouldn't do this, echoing many people like Naomi Klein and so forth, Neera Tanden weighed in and said, how could you be against a carbon tax? And I said, how do you not understand the relationship between poverty and injustice? I mean, this is the real problem of the neoliberals. They don't understand the relationship between poverty and injustice. And they're just like, well, we're for a carbon tax, but we don't make the poor people pay for it. I'm sorry, no. Especially when your prime minister, Macron, is in fact a 1%er and a former banker, right? This is a guy who is then now saying, oh, poor people should pay for their carbon tax. No, 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 no. And then she started saying, well, what about rebates? I'm like, rebates don't matter if you don't have any money. You can't wait for that check to bounce back to you if your gas prices just went up through the roof. Make the rich people pay for it, which is, of course, what they're afraid and unwilling to do.
Yeah, I think the neoliberals do ignore the poor. One interesting thing, I lived in Argentina for 5 years, and in a lot of countries in this world, voting is obligatory. You must vote. You have to vote. Now, I know for a lot of Americans that feels like you're impeding on our freedom. And what's interesting about when everyone has to vote is that politicians suddenly all care about the poor. Now, there's incredible clientelism, there's buy-offs, there's let's give you a sandwich and put you on a bus and you have to vote for my candidate. There's all kinds of corruption, but what there isn't is you can't ignore poverty. And so that's what's so interesting. So, I mean, we've just come out of an election. You know, I know it's controversial, but I'm like, how would our country be radically different if everyone had to vote? You know,
I think you'd see a lot more sandwiches.
You'd see more food.
As you said,
you would see more food.
The Democrats have to deliver. Let's talk about delivery. You know,
yes.
Let's have Joe Biden send everyone a pizza.
Exactly.
Why not? I'm not against that.
No. And of course, this
I think
is
at
more
this point,
hypothetical.
We take a pizza after the $1,200 ran out. I would take $1,200 worth of pizza at this point.
Josh, we all saw how that $1,200 actually did help Trump in the end of the day. So this is my thing. I believe in Biden bucks. Biden, put your name on some monopoly money, call it a certain amount of you can use this at X, Y, and Z stores. You know, it's whatever it is. It's like food stamps, but it's Biden bucks. It'll help him on the propaganda level, and it'll help people on the they're going hungry level.
Well, I mean, that's what I think there's going to have to be an enormous economic stimulus of some kind, right? And the big lesson from the Obama administration was that the stimulus was too small. I have to say, you're tuned into Staying Home. We'll be right back. You're tuned into Staying Home, your revolutionary guide to the Green New Deal. I'm Josh Fox. I'm with Francesca Fiorentini. We have to wrap up, but Biden bucks, a stimulus, Democrats have to deliver. These are all very important things. How do we watch the Habituation Room? Because it is really fun. I love being on it. I was on it one time, and I love the segment. This was the week that was this.
Yes.
So tell us where we can watch it.
You can watch it on YouTube every Sunday at 6 o'clock PST Pacific, 9 o'clock Eastern, or listen to it as a podcast wherever you get your podcasts. And Josh's episodes have both been incredible, and he will be back, of course.
Was I in two?
Yeah, you were in in the early days, but it was just a podcast. Remember you were over at my house in LA?
Yeah, I remember that. That was fun. Oh, I remember that. That was still the Habituation Room back then?
I had long nails for Halloween because I was Cardi B. Anyway.
You were Cardi RGB or something like that. You were RG Cardi B. You were a cross between Ruth Bader Ginsburg and Cardi B, which I thought.
That's right.
I actually personally think Cardi B would make the Supreme Court a whole lot more fun. Honestly. I would be so down for that.
Agreed.
I mean,
let's do it.
Really,
Stack
really,
the courts,
really.
But only with female rappers. That's what I think.
Oh my God. Wow. That would be, I would just love to see Cardi B smacking down Mitch McConnell.
Yes.
That's just maybe that's maybe I shouldn't say that in public, but it's just one of the things that I think would make our country.
We can dream. Go big or go home, Josh.
Look, I'm staying home. That's the whole.
Go big or just stay home. It's so good to see you and be on your show.
Go big or stay home.
I'm so glad you're doing this show and continue to do it. And I look forward to discussing whether we're going to get out of this moment of unreality, given that your one-man show, The Truth Has Changed, really made an impact and has made me think a lot. So I'm like, next time, let's talk more about whether the truth will ever come back.
Well, I think we're going to have a version of The Truth Has Changed come out as a film at some point. So we hope so. But thank you, Francesca. And we'll see
everyone should watch it.
Soon. I'm going to put that on the front of it. Everyone should watch it. Francesca Fiorentini. Bye. See you later. Thanks. You're tuned into Staying Home. We'll be right back. It is time for everyone's favorite segment of the week. Friday to close out the week. It's been a week. I'm going to put on a sequin jacket and welcome Christoph Dornemann back to the program. Master mixologist from our Nose French 75 here in the Crescent City in the French Quarter to do the drink of the week, our cocktail of the week. What is it this week, Christoph? I can't wait to learn.
Hello, hello. Yeah, so it's the first time in New Orleans where it's actually been legitimately cold. So, yeah. So I was kind of trying to think of, there's a lot of holiday drinks that people associate with, but this is kind of a obscure cocktail, classic cocktail called the Lion's Tail. And it's one of my
Lion's Tail.
Yes.
All right.
It's one of my favorites. Not everybody has these ingredients, but we're going to throw this together with what we have. And one can buy, the one special ingredient is allspice dram. It's hard to find, but in specialty cocktail stores, you can get an allspice syrup bottle, but I'm going to use my house mix. And I think you have a little sample of our house built.
I have it with me. Yes, it was delivered to me by the wonderful and virtuous Kayleana Bunn, otherwise known sometimes on this program as Ranger Bunn. She did breeze by Christoph's establishment and got the allspice. So this is a specialty ingredient that people can run out and buy. So when you watch this program now, you might not have this ingredient, but you can re-watch this. All of the shows, by the way, of Staying Home, and all of the cocktails are at the Gasland page on Facebook, the Josh Fox page on Facebook, the How to Let Go of the World and Love All the Things Climate Can't Change Facebook page, also Climate Revolution Facebook page, and of course, our illustrious and wonderful network, TYT, the Young Turks. So you can look at any Friday, any single Friday show is going to have a new cocktail. So I think you should just binge those and just drink yourself.
Absolutely.
That's my plan. That's your plan. I mean, that's the plan that I recommend. What the hell? Donald Trump's out of office. Take a vacation. Go on a bender. A Biden bender.
Yes.
We had Biden bucks earlier in the program. Now the Biden bender initiate. All right.
Absolutely.
The Lion's Tail. How's this different from the Lion's Mane?
What's the Lion's Mane? I don't even know what that is.
I have no idea. I was making it. All right. So the Lion's Tail sounds like a dangerous proposition. Don't grab any other Lion's Tail. Grab this one.
Yes. All right. So we're going to start with bourbon. I'm going to do an ounce and a half. You can always add a little extra if you want to. I'm going to do 1 3/4.
You can always add a little extra bourbon. I think I will have that on my epitaph.
Absolutely.
Listen, I am using a very cheap bourbon. It's not even really bourbon. It's early time whiskey. Just because it's good.
Yeah. Well, this is.
You can consider that an endorsement. Sorry, go ahead.
Well, so these are, the thing is, these are classic drinks. So like the Lion's Tail is a classic cocktail. Even if you make it with the cheapest whiskey that you have in the house, it is going to taste delicious. The trickiest part is the allspice dram. So like I said, there are a few brands. There's like one brand that you can buy in certain specialty cocktail places, but this is the secret ingredient. So if you can ever look up how to make an allspice dram or find an allspice dram, once you get a good whiskey, it's fine. So you have
allspice dram, D-R-A-M?
Yeah. So dram is a very old school, and when I mean old school, I mean like 100-year-old terminology for basically a booze-based modifier. So a syrup with alcohol as the primary, instead of water, using alcohol. So I do allspice berries whole, soaked with rum and brandy, cooked with brown sugar, add a little bit of water. And that alone is going to be our house allspice dram that you're going to have.
Wow. I think a dram in Shakespearean terms is, I don't know. I have to look it up. I thought it was like a disease that you could get. But how much of this do I put in?
I'm going to do half an ounce. Half an ounce of allspice
Half an ounce of Old Spice dram. This is exciting. Oh, wow. There it goes into the mixer.
Yeah, and then we're going to do a little 1/4 ounce of simple syrup.
1/4 ounce of simple syrup.
Because allspice dram is usually very harsh. It has sweetness to it, but because it's allspice, it's very dry. It's very spiced. So you need a little bit of extra sugar to brighten that up.
Right there, that is the simple syrup. I love.
All right. And this is the other kind of bizarre combination is bourbon and lime juice. So the traditional recipe is lime juice. So I'm going to do 1/2 ounce of lime juice.
Ounce lime juice. So almost as much lime juice as dram.
Yes. And that's what the 1/4 ounce of sugar or simple syrup adds, is just a balancing act, because just lime and allspice dram is going to be really harsh. So just a 1/4 ounce of that simple syrup balances that out, and you're done with your cocktail.
What about the bitters? No bitters?
Oh yeah, I'm sorry. I'm going to just do 1 dash because the allspice dram is really intense. So I'm just going to do 1 dash. I have a special bitters, but Angostura bitters is
1
perfect.
dash of Angostura bitters. Okie dokie. Shake that up.
Yes, indeed.
All right, here goes the ice.
There
Right.
we go.
Shaky, shaky. This is the most physical that this show ever gets.
I'm telling you, you don't need a shake weight if you want to make cocktails. You know, that solves half your problems.
It solves many problems that we have. Okay.
All right.
We're looking to solve problems here tonight. Ooh.
All right. Here you go.
Okay,
Your
I'm ready.
lime
Ready
tail.
to- Okay, look at that. And this, you just serve a strained neat like this.
Strained neat is ideal. I like to do a little orange twist. You don't have
Oh,
to.
orange twist.
It's okay. It's going to taste good no matter what. And this is your, I would say, you know, it's getting cold. And this is a perfect way to start the holiday season and impress your friends. So cheers.
All right, here we go. Oh my God, that is amazing.
Yeah. That's delicious.
Wow.
That is delicious.
I'm so sad for every single person who's at home who is not drinking this right now. Now,
Cheers.
at first I felt a little, cheers, Christoph. At first I have to say I felt a little bit shy about the dram. But now I'm like, Dramorama. You know?
Dramorama, dude.
Dude,
Allspice dram. If you ever find an old cocktail recipe that says pimento dram, it means allspice dram.
Wow, and you said allspice berries in this?
Yep. It's a lot of allspice berries, and we crack it. We basically break them all down, soak them in booze, cook them with some brown sugar and water, and it's something that you can never replicate. But I highly recommend looking up old recipes with allspice syrup, and you can find it in certain specialty cocktail stores. But allspice dram is a classic cocktail ingredient. So
this tastes like what Santa Claus would be drinking, in my imagination.
exactly.
As a Jew.
That's what.
In my Jewish imagination.
Sweater on, dude.
Right. I think Jews have a skewed understanding of what Christmas is. But I think when I think about the North Pole and the reindeers and this old fat guy with a beard sawing toys out of wood, this tastes like what I think it should be. You know, I'm sure that Santa Claus is face down in the snow next to a bottle of allspice dram.
Absolutely.
Can I just say also one more thing? Don't forget to boycott Amazon. Boycott Amazon. Anything you can get on Amazon, you can get somewhere else. Amazon is the death of the planet. Amazon is the death of your neighborhood. Amazon is the death of our country. Every single interaction you have in a beautiful city like this one, Amazon is trying to replace by making you order stuff from Amazon. You can't get this on Amazon. You can't, and you shouldn't. And you shouldn't get anything on Amazon. Get it somewhere else, or else you're putting money into Jeff Bezos' pocket, whose workforce is a miserable. I mean, I don't even want to. We've had a show this week with David Adler and Chris Smalls. Watch that show about how we have to boycott Amazon, how we have to stop Amazon in its tracks. All right, so I'm drinking to that today. How about you, Christoph?
Cheers to that, man. Absolutely. Make everything at home.
Well, I mean,
If you
I
have the
think we should
time.
make our own. In the words of the dead milkman, why should we buy postage stamps? We can make our own. No, don't follow that advice. But or else your letter might not get to Santa Claus.
Yes.
But
Also, support the post office as best as you can.
support the post office. Support your local businesses, like the Great Arno's, French 75. Listen, we're going to get through this together. Cheers. Thank you so much for tuning in. This has been
Cheers.
Staying
Thank
Home,
you.
and we will see you next week.
That's Anna.
Jumping music, slick DJs, fog machines, and laser rays. Look out, weekends, cause here I come. Because weekends were made for fun. Look out, weekend, cause here I come. Because weekends were made for fun, fun, fun. I work hard every day. It's all work and no play. With the boss on my back, he don't give me any slack. I sit down, I daydream of how my weekend's gonna be. Girl, I wish you would.
Hey everybody, welcome to TYT. It's Friday. Some people still have jobs, but not most of America. We have stuff to do. Anna is not here. Cenk is not here. Only the FCC rules apply today. And to get us through this, we have Nando Vila, host of Weekends on Jacobin. Welcome to the show.
Thank you for having me, Brett. I feel like I need a drink. Let's drink. What's going on here?
100%. Happy half hour will be happening this today after post game. We have a comedian named Brian Parisi on, and Common Room is also happening later on today. We have John Idarola, Francesca Fiorentini, And Sloan Hughes from Funny or Die. She's a great comedian. Also Cotton Can Daddy on Twitter. So you might have seen some of her tweets. What can we look forward to on your Jacobin show this weekend?
We're gonna dunk on Neera Tanden, which will be fun, and we're gonna do a segment on Amazon and their unionization drive in Alabama, which is a small glimmer of hope in these bleak times. So yeah, we also have Corey Robin on the show, who's a very, 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 very smart person and very good chronicler of the conservative movement. Wrote a book called The Reactionary Mind, which everyone should read to understand the American right.
Oh dang, I love that. I will read that. I've been looking for something to read that isn't just terrible, terrible news. I will say special thanks to everybody watching. We've got a hype train going right now on Twitch. And a little note, it is TYT Gives Back this December. So during December, the top 3 gifters on Twitch will get a special mystery box from us. But if you're not in the top 3, don't worry. Mystery boxes sounds really gross. But
it sounds pretty cool to me.
Okay, great. There's a mystery box. What's in the box? It's What's in the Box December.
Yeah.
And if you're not in the top 3, don't worry about it. It is totally okay. We are picking, of the top 10 gifters, we're picking one at random to get a bonus mystery box. So look out for that.
Bonus mystery box. An
additional non-top 3 mystery box. I don't know what's in it, and that's kind of the point. So that's fantastic. We have a lot of great show to get to. There is a little bit more housekeeping as people funnel in to start watching and listening. Save the date. We have a Georgia special coming up. Georgia has an important runoff election that will determine who gets the Senate majority. Find out how you can get involved at tyt.com/vote. And then tune in for the special Monday, December 14th for our Flip Georgia Get Out the Vote special starring Cenk, John, Benjamin Dixon, and Ida Rodriguez at 8:30 Eastern, 5:30 Pacific at youtube.com/live, YouTube, Facebook, Twitch, and all linear platforms. So that's another thing to look out for. Something else, Samsung TV Plus. We are on Samsung TV Plus mobile. Download the free Samsung TV Plus app and take TYT anywhere you go, exclusive on select Samsung Galaxy devices. It's free TV with no strings attached. Download today at tyt.com/Samsung TV and find us on channel 1032. And the last little bit of housekeeping, shop TYT's last chance sale. Just because you didn't get in on 10 days of Black Friday, don't worry about it. Tomorrow is your last chance to check off your gift list. Grab your Shop TYT merch by tomorrow to receive it by Christmas, 12/25. To receive, I believe the full name of Christmas is War on Christmas. Get free shipping on all orders over $50 at shoptyt.com. So that's what's going on. And also next week, this is it. I'm as producer, Brett, I know all this stuff and I want to make sure you hear it. Next week, we're going back to a 2-hour show. So just remember that. Anna will host the first hour. JR is gonna do the second hour for the first 2 weeks. Then it'll be Anna and Cenk for 2 full hours plus post game. And the post games will go back to them talking nonsense like they did a little yesterday. Nonsense either superficial or wildly deep and unexpected. That's what's so great about it. We have a lot of show for you. So much amazing stuff to cover, from whether there will be a COVID aid package to whether there will be martial law in America and Karens at each other's throats. Are you ready for it, Nando?
Very ready. Was born ready, baby.
Let's do it. All right, the first story is about Biden's progressive cabinet, or lack thereof. Okay, so Biden has unveiled a handful of names that are gonna be his cabinet picks. Does he think that any of them actually appeal to progressives? I could tell you, but Jake Tapper actually asked Kamala Harris what she thought about it, and her answer is perhaps the most telling of them all.
Last month, Senator Bernie Sanders told the Associated Press it would be, quote, enormously insulting if your cabinet, the Biden-Harris cabinet, ignored progressive voices. Who would you point to now as a leading progressive voice in the cabinet?
Well, we're not done yet, Jake. So we're not even halfway there. So I think that we should have this conversation when we're done. But
is another interview offer you're making? Because I'll take it.
do you consider yourself a progressive?
No.
Department of Homeland Security.
Homeland Security?
Progressive. Yeah, no, I'm serious.
He's a progressive.
Yeah, and there's a number of progressives that are.
So we have that. Okay, that was just an amazingly telling everything about that. But Nando, what did you see in that response?
First of all, there was a sort of miscommunication between Kamala and Jake Tapper. She misunderstood his joke. Where he was like, "Oh, this is another interview request." She's like, "No." She thought he was talking about interviewing for the cabinet. He's like, "No. I want you to." Anyway, misunderstanding. But this is what losing looks like. The left lost and they won. And they drink our milkshake, and they are going to appoint their people. They're not going to appoint our people ever. This was never going to happen. There is no leverage. There is no in our system. There is no mechanism for a sort of coalition within a broader coalition to exert power. We can't walk away and they're going to collapse like you would in a parliamentary system. So it was never going to be a progressive cabinet, and it's just not going to be. So this Kamala really funny, just wait till you see who the Secretary of Housing and Urban Development is. He is as left as they come. He is he's a very own Karl Marx. This guy, no, this.
And it's Eric Garcetti.
Right, yeah, he was he dated a communist Frenchie when he went abroad in college. Yeah, man, he is a progressive. No, yeah, I'm not holding my breath because they were never gonna do it, and they won't. So, yeah, that's just the reality of the situation, unfortunately.
Oh yeah, for me, he asked the question and there was a silence.
It's how do they not prepare an answer?
Oh, dude, this morning I was watching CNN. That's when I first saw the clip. And I know that our head of programming sent it to me last night. I just didn't see it till this morning. So sorry, Judith. But essentially I saw it on CNN. And the way it was pitched was there's questions about diversity in Biden's cabinet. And they play that clip. They play the first one where they're talking about this is the most, we want it to look like America and there's diversity. And then they cut to this moment. And I was like, well, that's the most interesting thing because they don't have an answer for it. And then the host just goes on and completely ignores that happened during the interview. And yes, she was talking with Angela Rye, who has a career that's more focused on diversity as it's conventionally understood. But I think that points out something else that's wrong with cable news in general. The reason that they didn't focus on the progressive part of that interview with Jake Tapper is because there's no progressive on those shows ever to be able to do that.
It's very shocking. You would think that from a cold capitalist point of view, they would at least have a few people on CNN who could speak to for example, the overwhelming majority of voters under 40, who support kind of very broad left policies. Yeah, no one on CNN, not a single person. They have all manner of national security ghouls who no one cares about. No one cares about what the former undersecretary of the Department of National Security for Western Hemispheric Affairs has to say about whatever the hell is going on in the news these days. That's just, but they have tons of those guys. They would never ever hire a proper, progressive to be on there regularly. It's just outside of it doesn't even exist in their horizon.
Yeah, absolutely. It is wildly frustrating. And they had Alexandra Rojas on there during the campaigns. But I'll tell you why, man. And we say this, it's been said on the show, but now I have a little, this is too much information, but I have a little thing in my shower where I can put my phone and watch TV while I'm getting ready in the morning. And so I get to watch CNN at the same time every day. And I saw this today. And at the same
while you were scrubbing your pits.
Well, I'm just washing 2020 off of my body, singing in the bathtub. So I'm doing that. But here's what happens every day at the same time. It's commercials about Medicare expansions. supplemental Medicare stuff. It is all pharmaceutical ads. And for the last week, it's been CEOs of major pharmacies talking about, and companies talking about how they are going to execute the distribution of the vaccine. And it's like, thank you so much, CVS, for your service. So when you make points about whether they're gonna have like progressive voices in there to bring it to the like CNN demos attention that most Americans actually do agree with the policy like Medicare for all, they're not gonna, I think that is the financial motivation not to. They have John Kasich on there, and I saw John Kasich every time he's on there, he mispronounces green. He missays Green New Deal is New Green Deal, and he does it on purpose. It's very John
Kasich, who spoke at the DNC and is now part of the resistance. It drives me crazy. Like it really does. It's so bleak in that sense that and it brings up an interesting question because cable news, we hate it. But it was shown in the primary and in the election cycle that it really does kind of drive the narrative in a lot of the politics that happen in this country, and really like even if like a certain number of people are like a smallish number of people are actually watching at any given moment, then that narrative kind of permeates down, trickles down, so to speak, to other kind of sources that people consume, whether it's on social media or whatever, and it really did have a major effect, and we are completely shut out from that. We're just completely shut out. And what do we do about that? Like, what is there to be done? I mean, obviously there's like the TYT independent voices, but like, do we have access to the Death Star? No, we don't have access to the Death Star. We're not invited to those
we
parties.
do. We have access to the Death Star. We're all on the take from George Soros. Don't you understand? That's what's so frustrating is we get all the negative sides of being accused of having these giant corporate donors, but none of the benefits of that actually being the case.
Yeah.
Like,
No, you would quadruple your salary and just start spouting off. Well, Medicare, for all very expensive. I don't know if we could afford it.
I would
pay all this money.
I would, but nobody else at this company would. I would do it in a heartbeat. I don't know. I would do it in a heartbeat for about 4 minutes, and then just my head and walk away.
Yeah.
I will. Here's what Bernie Sanders said that Joe Biden that they were asked about. This is the full quote. It seems to me pretty clear that progressive views need to be expressed within a Biden administration. It would be, for example, enormously insulting if Biden put together a quote team of rivals. And there's some discussion that's what he intends to do, which might include Republicans and conservative Democrats, but which ignored the progressive community. I think that would be very, very unfortunate. There was an article in Politico that kind of outlined the progressive reaction to Biden's appointees so far. Someone that it seems from Biden's reaction when he jumps in is like, no. We've got
who's that Hispanic guy I got at Homeland Security? What was his name again?
Yeah, I got him. I forget his name. I deleted it by accident. Alejandro Mayorkas. I got that guy. Yeah, it's fine. I got it. That's it. Question answered. But here's how they respond. This is a Political article. Anthony Blinken, a quote solid choice for Secretary of State, according to Faz Shakir, Bernie Sanders 2020 campaign manager. Alexandra Rojas from Justice Democrats said she's encouraged that Biden tapped John Kerry as his international climate czar. Elizabeth Warren said Janet Yellen, Biden's expected nominee for Treasury Secretary, would be outstanding. And I know there were a lot. I mean, that's true. Here's the next is from a progressive strategist, Rebecca Katz, who said it could have been a lot worse. He's not picking any lefties. He's just picking people who haven't alienated the left, who are listening. But and I think she's accurately appraising the situation. I think that was her intent, was just to say, listen, he hasn't yet said that what's his name, Rahm Emanuel is in charge of it. It's looming. And he just is actively picking people who haven't alienated the left. And to the point,
like Neera Tanden, my God, just like choose on the front line of the centrist Democrat war against the left. She is the frontline soldier. She is storming no man's land. That is, I mean, Here's what kind of I find sort of very. I mean, I understand that Bernie and they have to play nice at a certain point. They don't want to be completely frozen out. They want to have some degree of influence, and I get that why they're playing nice. But what drives me crazy is that Democrats. It's very likely that Joe Biden will nominate a Republican to be in his cabinet in some way. Obama nominated Republicans. Bob Gates was a Republican. He was the Secretary of Defense that Obama nominated in 2008. It is literally unimaginable for any Republican to nominate even the most conservative Democrat to their cabinet. Like, can you imagine like a president? Rubio nominating whoever, Chuck Schumer to be his Secretary of Treasury or whatever. Like, it's so unimaginable. They would never do that ever in their lives because they know that American politics is polarized and that it is a war and that you have to, like, there is no negotiating with terrorists, that you don't get any brownie points for putting in like the sort of soft Republican in there. You get 0 brownie points for that. And it's just, it just drives me crazy that they constantly think they can do that. Like this, a team of rivals, which, that phrase has to be retired once and for all, forever. But yeah, I mean, it speaks to the asymmetry in American politics which is one of the reasons why we keep drifting further and further to the right. We have this insane frothing at the mouth far right party that understands naked raw use of power, and then we have this center right party, the Democrats, who don't understand anything about power and just constantly think that they can placate the terrorists on the right, and they cannot, and they will never will, and they just keep their Charlie Brown, trying to kick the football, and it keeps getting pulled away.
Yeah, 100%. And like with the nearest hand thing, it's like when a grandparent buys something for their grandkid. This is what I'm afraid they think, and this is evidenced by Biden's reaction. Like, no, I got the Homeland Security, huh?
The Hispanic dude. He had no idea what his name was. It's so clear he had no idea what his name was. It's so obvious.
So sad. I don't even want to go think that. But as evidence, and we got that for you. It's like when a grandparent who's out of touch with trends buys something for their grandkid, and the grandkid's like, "This is not the cool thing right now. I don't want to." But like, did you think it was? That's so sad. I don't know. And then just the final little bit of this. This is so sad. Alexi McCammon writes in Axios. Some progressives tell Axios they believe the window for influencing President-elect Biden's cabinet selections is closed, and they're shifting focus to policy, hoping to shape Biden's agenda even before he's sworn in. So the question is, he said, according to Bernie and Biden himself, he kind of wants to be the next FDR. So let's push policies that help that. Whether that will ever happen, as the Democrats prove their fecklessness in negotiating the middle ground in a way that is materially actually middle ground, it remains to be seen, but it does not look good. So let's get into that right now with the Problem Solvers Caucus's new.
The Problem Solvers Caucus is one of my favorite caucus names.
Okay, yeah. So before the election, the question was, are we gonna go for a $2 billion aid package that the Democrats are pushing for, or a $1.8 billion aid package that Mnuchin? Sorry, yeah, let me start over.
Yeah.
But it might be billion by the end of the day.
It'll end up being that.
Sorry, let me do that again. So before the election, here we go. Before the election, it was a question as to whether we would get a $2 trillion aid package that Pelosi and the Democrats are pushing for, or a $1.8 trillion aid package that the White House was pushing for. And they kept negotiating and nothing happened. And now it's post-election time, and it looks like they might have landed on half of the lowball bid. $908 billion in COVID aid, which is not a lot of money. So to really capture a soul-crushing aspect of it, here is the latest news as announced by Fox Business. Take a look.
Well, Joe Biden is throwing support behind a bipartisan $908 billion COVID relief package. Senate Majority Leader Mitch McConnell saying compromise is within reach. Even President Trump says it's close. So is this package more important than just ending the lockdowns. And I don't mean to be rude about this, but when and how will we pay the bills?
Jesus.
There. Good Christ. I not be rude here. I mean, I wasn't rude. We were giving trillions in tax cuts to the people who watch my show, but I'm going to pay for this thing. And I don't know. So Biden's behind it. Pelosi's behind it. What's in it? Here is a Lauren Egan from NBC News writes, their support renews hope that the Congress could approve aid before the end of the year. This is Pelosi and Schumer's support. The proposal would provide an extra $300 a week in unemployment payments and extend help to cash-strapped local governments, as well as provide support for small business, transit systems, and airlines. What's not in it? The plan does not renew the federal moratorium on evictions that's set to expire at the end of the year. A second round of $1,200 stimulus checks, although supported by congressional Democrats and the president of the United States, is also not included in the bipartisan framework. Democrats push for hazard pay, which could provide bonuses to essential workers and healthcare professionals who have put their lives in danger during the pandemic, was also excluded from the plan. Or if you like a more visual representation from Congresswoman Ayanna Pressley, COVID relief bill does not include enhanced unemployment benefits, workplace protections, paid sick leave, direct cash payments to individuals, national eviction and foreclosure moratorium, rental assistance fails to meet the scale and scope of the crisis we're facing. So Nanda, what are your thoughts?
I mean, obviously, like it's just unbelievably bleak and depressing because the scale of this crisis is almost like impossible to wrap your mind around. Just like the scale of the economic harm is going to be with us for the next decade or even more, and just the complete and utter failure of our leadership class to deal with something like this is going to have political reverberations that we just can't foresee right now. The Democrats gave away their leverage when they passed the CARES Act. I mean, that's just the bottom line of the Republic. Mitch McConnell has no incentive to pass any of this. I mean, Trump had an incentive because he needed to win the election, and there seems pretty clear to me that the stimulus that he passed in the summer probably helped him a lot politically. It's probably why he did better than people expected. But when the Democrats kind of passed the CARES Act and they didn't tie it to certain health indicators, and it just ended in August, essentially. The Republicans got everything they wanted. They got the massive transfer to corporations. They got the bailout. They got the $4 trillion to corporations. Mitch McConnell would like a 5-year protection for all corporations for liability from coronavirus. He'd like that, but he's fine not giving any stimulus if he doesn't need to. So even if this bipartisan deal was kind of embraced by the president, like I just don't see why Mitch McConnell was not a part of the problem solvers caucus who hatched this bipartisan compromise. So he's going to compromise on the compromise. It's going to end up being like an absolute pittance that will just, I mean, it might there might be some appropriations for like actually developing and distributing the vaccine. But in terms of economic relief to people, to real struggling people who have no way of working because the economy is basically stopped, they're not gonna, it's just not gonna happen. It's just not gonna happen.
And like state governments are faced with this decision. Like last time they did do some form of lockdown and it did stem the spread of this disease. Right. That's what the dip was after it began. Like they did it and they're gonna have to do it again. The only difference is now there isn't gonna be that lifeline.
Yeah. There's no, yeah. Yeah, go ahead, sorry.
I was just gonna say about those liability protections, also from Lauren Egan at NBC News. The proposal includes liability protections for businesses that remain open during the pandemic, a provision that has been a non-starter for Pelosi and Schumer in the past.
Yeah. It's a license to kill, and essentially like for a business, you could just like, flaunt every single COVID regulation, safety measure for their workers. And if the worker gets sick and dies, like they're not liable in any way. But yeah, I mean, the state, I mean, I almost feel bad for someone like Gavin Newsom, who I, despise on almost every level. But, I almost feel bad for him because, he's seeing the numbers and he wants to, like, I probably know that in his bones, he knows he wants to lock down. But without any federal aid, a state can't run a deficit. So shutting down the economy means that the state revenues get starved and he has to like fire millions of teachers and police officers and firefighters. Like it's like, it's an impossible choice in many ways. And without the federal aid, like the governors like are really under the gun because they're really between a rock and a hard place. It's just our insane system in which states can't run deficits, in which only the federal government can run a deficit, yet states are empowered to make all these decisions. Like it just shows like just how broken and dysfunctional our system is at almost every level, and just how ill-equipped our leaders are, and unwilling and just brazenly, like sociopathically willing to let hundreds of thousands of people die because they keep on asking the question, but how are we going to pay for it?
Yeah. There were some other questions asked during as this was all developing, so I want to talk about Nancy Pelosi for a second. Yeah, so Nancy Pelosi was asked, why is she supporting this new deal for COVID aid that is one half of her original offer of $2 billion, actually less than that, $2 trillion, actually less than that. And so some of these questions came up during a press conference that she had. Here is her reaction.
I don't want to in any way undermine the great bipartisan negotiations that are going on between the Democrats and Republicans. Senator Shelby, as the chair of the Appropriations Committee in the Senate, Nita Lowey as the chair in the House, their staffs working together. So don't worry about a date. It will be in sufficient time for us to get it done.
So she is really excited about being a master legislator who's able to orchestrate all this this movement when her offer has been undercut by more than 50%, and that's fine with her. Sure, I'm sure she's stoked about that. And then also, like, what is her other move? This is now she's basically saying in that clip that she wants to throw it into the omnibus spending bill so it can't get shut down, or you have to shut down the entire government. Is that a giant move? That happens all the time. Everybody always chucks something into the spending bill because you get around a filibuster, and the other threat is that you would shut down the government. Like, that's not a groundbreaking deal. It's so nuts. But I do want to say, here's her other thing that's actually more infuriating. Asked why she's in favor of this bill. Why the big change, Nancy? Here's what she said.
Joe Biden committed to ending and crushing the virus and having a Build America initiative, Build Back Better, a vaccine, answer to our prayers, an answer to our prayers of 95% effectiveness in terms of Pfizer and Moderna, and there may be others coming forward. That is a total game changer. A new president and a vaccine.
So a president and a vaccine, even though the vaccine won't really be available till April for most people, and that's just the first dose of 2 for some of those vaccines. Nando, are you buying it?
I mean, I don't even want to think about what the absolute mess and chaos that will be the vaccine rollout is going to look like. I mean, you could already start to imagine it. Just completely. Our institutions are so rotten at their core that these basic functions of the government are very difficult, even in the best of times. And not to mention just like the radicalized base that may be like totally against it because it's coming from a Democratic president. Who's going to get it first? The mad dash. I mean, I'm already seeing that like Wall Street bankers are trying to position themselves right after healthcare workers as the second line in hierarchy to get the vaccine. But it's one of those things. I mean, they will need billions of dollars to manage the rollout. Like they're going to need tens of billions of dollars. They're going to need a lot of money to be able to distribute, mass produce, get it in the hands of people, keep them like cold. I mean, that's like another thing. Like they got to keep them like something like insanely cold. So they desperately need this in some way, which does not exist right now. They need to pass some sort of bill to appropriate tens of billions of dollars to even get that most bare minimum thing, which is distributing the vaccine. So I guess do it in the omnibus spending bill, but like I don't know.
But even still, like Mitch McConnell has not said he signed on to this, and he was mum the whole time. And as pointed out in a video we played earlier, Mitch McConnell says, I want to make sure the president will sign on to this. Dudes, the president was willing to sign on to $1.8 trillion.
Yeah.
And for Mitch McConnell to currently hide behind what Trump will sign off on is absolute BS. And AOC puts it really, really well. She says in a tweet, Canada did a $2,000 monthly bill. The US is the richest nation on earth, and a second stimulus check is getting blocked by the GOP because the GOP wants corporate bailouts and austerity in exchange for it. Maybe if everyone in the US incorporated under an LLC, Mitch McConnell would actually do something for them.
Yeah.
Crazy. All right, we got to take a
go ahead. Well, just very quickly, you want to take a break? Let's take a break.
Let's take a break, man. We can talk about it during the break. If you're watching on Linear, we're gonna take a break. If you're watching on our social channels, we're gonna answer your viewer comments after this. All right, let's go through some viewer comments. Percy gave out 69 subs, as Percy always seems.
Hell yeah.
To do. Very
Ooh,
nice.
Liberal with the 69 subs. Nice.
And by giving out the 69 subs, Percy is currently in second place on the TYT Gives Back leaderboard, Poggers.
Someone's giving more than 69 subs?
Oh, yeah, we've got, I assume it's Obi-Mom Kenobi, who I think has given out at least 250 sub batches. Someone please confirm that with me in the chat.
She is our own hope.
That's true. So true. Control Alt Delete gifted 10 subs to Press Progressive, gave out 1,000 bits. Thank you so much. And 6 gift subs. That's fantastic. Octo Squiddy subscribed for 6 months Prime, saying, I love these names. Not only am I a TYT Twitch subscriber, I'm also a member.
Well, I also just have no idea how Twitch works. I don't know what any of these things actually mean. Like gift subs, the whatever you were talking about. I don't know any of this.
Well, there's dominance and submissives. And it's very curvy. No, it's subscription. So you can buy other people's subscriptions and they get them and it lasts a month. So it's not like you're on the hook for multiple things. But we do encourage people to, if they do, Obi-Mom is giving out 75 subs. So that's the number right now to beat. But yeah, so you give out subs and then we do encourage people, if you are on the receiving end of those sub gifts, that you turn it into a regular sub yourself. And if you are you have Amazon Prime, it's actually free to you. You just people in the chat will tell you how you get to redeem your free Prime subscription every month. Check to make sure you've done that. Member comments. Greg is a guest and gave says always good to have Nando on the show.
Oh, thank you, Greg. I really appreciate that.
Awesome. Act like Nat on Biden's cabinet says Biden's cabinet is not a surprise. He only wanted progressive votes, not cabinet members, and sadly, no one will hold him accountable. It's upsetting. I think there's a lot of people acting like Nat right now. Johnny I's 100% word bubble. John Idarola always says 100%, and everyone on the Twitch chat has to drink. It is just me. Is it just me, or does the Biden administration not care about progressives? The fact Bernie might have to vote yes for Neera Tanden is a slap.
I mean, he might even have to shepherd it through the Senate, like they might make him do that just to humiliate him. It's really sad. I mean, it's just really sad is what it is. And the funny thing about Neera Tanden is that she's the compromise choice in theory for these people, because they were gonna put Bruce Reed, who was her former boss in the Clinton administration, who was the guy who literally coined the phrase "end welfare as we know it" on behalf of the Clinton administration, which welfare reform in 1996 doubled extreme poverty in this country. Like half of his cabinet quit, including Robert Reich. One of the worst things to happen in recent American history. Bruce Reed was responsible for that, and they were going to put him in charge of the OMB. So yeah,
I'm glad it happened during the break. We'll be back after this.
I didn't say anything.
All right, welcome back, everybody. That was a fun break. I always love those breaks. For everybody, just know that during the breaks, we read viewer comments to people who are watching on our social media, like YouTube Live and Twitch. And subscribers on Twitch definitely will see them, because if you're a subscriber, you don't have to watch ads. It's one of the perks. Very fair. All right, you ready to get into this Pentagon martial law brink of insanity story, Nando?
Sure, let's do it.
All right, here we go. With just a month left to go in Trump's one-term presidency, he's attempting to surround himself with like-minded conspiracy theorists. Isn't that nice? I guess when you're the president, you get to do stuff like that. His latest nomination is a former fighter pilot named Scott O'Grady, who he nominated recently to become the Assistant Secretary of Defense for International Security Affairs at the Pentagon. In addition to mirroring the president's endless stream of baseless election fraud claims on Twitter, O'Grady has also joined the chorus of pro-Trump supporters that want him to declare martial law. So let's get into that. It's always nice on a Friday. On November 25th, O'Grady retweeted a tweet that said, quote, "Trump won and Biden and his cabinet and his comrades, Biden and his comrades will now attempt the coup," next to a photoshopped image of Biden beside Xi Jinping, the president of China. I don't know if this was the exact one, but this is from Lynn Wood, so I assume it is.
Oh, hell yeah. That's just great. You love to see it. Love it.
So that's one. We're gonna go through these. This is who Trump is left to as his option.
This guy's gonna get elected. I mean, we laugh, but this guy's gonna get elected to Congress in 2022. Like, mark my words. Scott O'Grady, sponsored by Jameson Irish Pub, Irish whiskey, is gonna get elected to Congress on this kind of platform. I promise you that. I'm betting on it.
It's so crazy. There's more crazy. On November 19th, O'Grady retweeted a tweet that falsely claimed Hillary Clinton and George Soros were involved in allowing foreign interference in the presidential election. False by your account.
Yeah. Do we know that they weren't involved? Yeah, come on.
It says it in the tweet, and the burden of proof is on whoever's reading this. On November 25th, O'Grady retweeted a baseless accusation that Brian Kemp and Brad Raffensperger, the governor and Secretary of State of Georgia, respectively, may be covering up information about election results in Georgia. And on November 27th, O'Grady retweeted the false claim that Trump won California, despite the fact that Trump lost the state by more than 5 million votes. So that is the ones that he actively retweeted, but he has kind of affiliated himself by retweeting stuff from the account that Michael Flynn retweeted about martial law. He tips his toes in the martial law pool in support of Trump's elementary coup attempt. On December 2nd, He retweeted an account that shared an article that said former National Security Advisor Michael Flynn had shared a petition that called for martial law. He then retweeted the same account that suggested that Trump should declare martial law. Now, this is the account, but so he hasn't tweeted that, but all the other stuff, I feel like in any other administration would be absolutely disqualifying, right?
Yeah, I mean, this is part of politics, American politics in 2020, which is that the inmates have taken over the asylum, and for decades, the Republican Party essentially kind of threw insanity at their base to kind of rile them up, while they themselves kind of read the Wall Street Journal and the Weekly Standard, which were like more sober, kind of conservative things, which were more based in reality and all this stuff. And they kind of allowed Fox News and right-wing talk radio guys like Rush Limbaugh to just sort of like rile up the rubes, to whip up votes for their very unpopular kind of platform in general, through like things like racism, xenophobia, victimization and white identity politics. But now all of those people kind of grew up, and they've all now just taken power, and now they are the ones, they're reading all the same things that the rubes were reading in the past, and they believe all that stuff. I mean, there's people in Congress who believe all this stuff, and there's now people in the State Department who believe this stuff, and in the Pentagon who believe this stuff. I mean, it's like, yeah, I mean, like the Bush administration, as destructive and awful as it was, and it was incredibly like historically destructive and awful, like those people did not believe any of this stuff. They weren't like Alex Jones, fans, and like that's no longer the case. The inmates are running the asylum. So that's why I'm saying that this guy is gonna get elected to Congress. I'm calling it right now, because that's just American politics these days.
It's so crazy. And there's so many more examples. Like in a radio interview, he called former President Barack Obama and military generals sworn socialists and advocated the military justice system should bring back treason charges. He retweeted a tweet that called the former Defense Secretary Mattis a traitor. He, went after Lieutenant Vindman, basically a whistleblower, saying like, that's it. It's crazy. On November 25th, he retweeted a tweet that asked if the COVID-19 virus was partisan, since it seemed to be disproportionately impacting Republican politicians over Democrats. And this goes to the heart of what you were saying, right? Like, it's not that you're saying the science is partisan against Republicans. No, Republicans are actively arguing against science. That's why the science is against them, because they read it or they don't. But they definitely crumple whatever paper it was on up and throw it in the dustbin. And then, yeah, that's the causal mechanism, buddy. It's like, you can't be like, oh, I wonder why science is so against everything I'm saying. Yeah, because you're willfully ignorant, or worse, just stupid. But it's a cynical thing.
What is this guy? He's like a new nominee. Like he's got like 3 weeks. Like, what's he gonna do?
Well, that's the big fear, is that Trump has gotten rid of a lot of Department of Defense people lately, and just wiped the slate clean. And the question you ask, the answer to it is terrifying. The answer to it could be that he is trying with all his might to at least get surrounded by people who would be fine with martial law and quote calling a revote. Is there anyone who thinks that if we had a revote, first of all, it's never gonna happen, you can't have it happen. But does anyone think that revote, look at other countries that are like, no, the military is gonna hold a vote for us. Do those ever turn out to be like, 51 to 49? No, it'll be like 95 to 4. And it's horrible. Anyway, so that's what we're talking about. We do have to take another break. So when we come back, we got a lot more for you. We're gonna show you what's happening during all of this, as Fox News is absolutely terrified that Sean Hannity has too much power, not because he's spreading insanity, but because it means he might leave them. And oh my goodness, would they have an audience? Don't go away. All right, for those of you who are looking at that thermometer just then, tyt.com/go keeps us afloat, available to you, and broadcasting from our homes. So it'd be nice. We're trying to get to that goal. We have switched to like the final year-long goal that we want to hit. So you'll see it come up periodically. tyt.com/go is where you can see Donald Trump there. Where you too can donate to that. So that's awesome. I do want to do some member shout outs. New members on TYT are on YouTube. You just click the join button. Osangar, Renee Sheen, Ian Kelman, DS Jones. And people who have upgraded to premium are Aaron Baldwin and LM. Thank you so much for that. Okay, great. And then super chat, Rainbow Dragon gave us 11 or 100 Norwegian krona, which is fantastic. And says like sending support for TYT across the Atlantic. Thank you so much. Rachel Fielding says, "Oh my God, I love Brett and Nando. I'm so pumped for the show today." So that's nice. Roger Meadows says, when will you put the whole clip of you guys ripping Avril Haines up from Tuesday? I think that might go up over the weekend, but if you are a member on Twitch, you can watch the whole show on demand, and also any members anywhere have on-demand options, so you can just download the whole show, watch it, and find whatever, and maybe someone will clip it out for you on Twitch. Speaking of which, Obi Mom just dropped 25 more subs for 100 for the month so far, first place. Wow. Tagrim Unlimited gave 8 months at tier 1, saying is an 8th-month subscriber at tier 1, saying best truth on the internet from the hardest working progressive team in social media news. Aw, that's so nice. Trimu Batigi has donated a bunch of bits, but Brooke lost track, so that's as detailed as it is. Thank you so much, Trimu, as always. Stanley 1953 gave 5 subs. Crazy Hawaiian in Pennsylvania gave 2 gift subs.
There's a Crazy Hawaiian in Pennsylvania. That sounds like a movie from the late 80s. Like he's a crazy Hawaiian in Pennsylvania, caught in a snowstorm.
Will the Crazy Hawaiian beat up the country club kids in the big race? Do you want to watch Crazy Hawaiian in Pennsylvania, or are we just gonna watch Rad again?
Right. Oh man.
Heatwood Mac is subbed at 5
Heatwood
months.
Mac.
Good.
So good. You guys are good. You Twitch people. I gotta get on Twitch and come up with a cool name.
Absolutely. Everyone in Twitch, please.
Nando Calrissian would obviously be my name, but yeah.
There you go. Welcome back, everybody. Brett Ehrlich here with Nando Calrissian. Soon to be on Twitch, Nando Calrissian. Yeah, so I'm gonna take a drink of this because I didn't have a chance to during the break.
Yeah.
What a good day. All right, we have very little time, so let's get right into the next story. Conservative media is imploding, as the president himself does, and I love every second of it. We talked about Lynn Wood, the attorney, the other day. He is involved in this, but what I love about the implosion is you get more and more people are getting involved. You're gonna get some new stars that are getting in there, and some old stars you forgot were alive are getting in on the action. We'll give you all of that, but let me set it up a little bit. So much depends on the results in the Georgia Senate race. The GOP really needs MAGA to come out in force, but what's working against them is that the president is calling every bit of every vote that's ever been cast illegitimate. So there are folks calling for MAGA to boycott the Georgia Senate race.
It was so good.
Because it's all BS anyway. And a potentially grifting, potentially everyone's like kind of split over whether this guy Lin Wood, the attorney, is meaning it or not when he says stuff like this.
Where's Kelly Loeffler here? Where's David Perdue? He ought to be standing right here. Those two people want your vote, then they ought to tell you what we're telling Brian Kemp. This is Georgia. We ain't dumb. We're not going to go vote on January 5th in another machine made by China. If Kelly Loeffler and David Perdue do not do it, they have not earned your vote. Don't you give it to them.
You love to see it. It's just.
He's absolutely perfect. So in reaction to this, as I talk about the news stars, Dan Crenshaw from Texas, best friend of Hassan Piker, says Lin Wood is a Democrat that wants Republicans to self-destruct just before he wears a MAGA hat. Just because he wears a MAGA hat doesn't mean that he shares a single value with you. He just wants your donations for his legal fees. He's a grifter. Vote in Georgia. Protect the accomplishments of the last 4 years. A lot to get into there, but I'll give you Michelle Malkin, one of the people that I forgot ever existed until now, emerged from Newsmax, which I also forgot existed until people left Fox for it. Says Dan Crenshaw is a globalist, John McCain in an eye patch, who loves to party hardy. Not even what? Who loves to party hardy while our country.
Is she like a suburban dad from the 1950s? You know, like, hey, son, you don't want to party hardy too hard on Saturday night, and you might get some, you might knock up some girl, some young dame.
You might get in with some gangbangers if you party hardy. So much to get into there. I love it. Newsmax it's great. This is perfect because Newsmax is absolutely trying to scoop up every Fox viewer that it can. It's trying to actively get even as their CEO admits that they misrepresent election results, they're still trying to appeal to that MAGA voter, and it is in every way positively fantastic. I do want to point out in Crenshaw's tweet, he says Lin Wood just wants donations for his legal fees. Donald Trump has raised $200 million off these BS claims to get his legal fees going.
I mean, what can you say other than just, this is what I was talking about is the inmates are taking over the asylum. Like it's the sort of right wing is melding into coherence. I mean, that's why you're seeing like these Newsmax and OAN because they are coherent, whereas Fox News is not. Like Fox News whips up the rubes, but then they also have like quote unquote serious journalists and serious reporters and all that stuff, and like even that's like too far gone now. You need to be fully in the bubble. So yeah, I mean it's just they need to whip these people up into a frenzy to get them to vote for their unpopular agenda, but then it's harder to control them. Like they've whipped them up too much. They're too whipped. They can't slow it down. They can't put Humpty Dumpty back together again.
So what do you think of this guy, Lin Wood? I'm going to show you some of his clients. Richard Jewell,
great movie.
Really, yeah, there were multiple movies. You liked it?
The Clint Eastwood movie is actually really, really good. You should watch it. It's really good.
Awesome. I watched the Lifetime movie about JonBenet Ramsey. He represented her parents. Dr. Phil in an anti-defamation suit. Sheldon Adelson in an anti-defamation suit.
Hell yeah.
Yeah. Natalie Holloway's mom.
State of Martin Luther King Jr.
Yeah.
What?
Yeah, I forget what it was about, but I think it was like a rights issue, like an intellectual property right. I forget exactly. Not that Howard K. Stern, the Anna Nicole Smith Howard Stern, a lawyer he represented, and then Gary Condit versus the National Enquirer over the Chandra Levy allegations. So do you think he's a grifter?
Oh yes, of course. But Linwood. The thing is that he's the best kind of grifter. You know, the best grifters believe in their grift. Like they're true believers in some way. Like they can't be purely cynical because then people will kind of see right through it in a weird way. Like they need to be high on their own supply in a certain way. But also just like Linwood just sounds like an 80s porn starlet name too. Like I refuse to believe that that's his real name.
It's actually L. Linwood.
Lin-Manuel Wood.
If you're from I went to all these like nerdy conferences when I was a kid, and Linwood you can tell where they were because they would always just go Linwood, and it was just like a part of L. It was just, that's all I think of is like a bunch of high schoolers going Linwood.
Yeah.
Anyways, when it comes to the election itself, it's actually, I don't know what's going to happen. Do you think that MAGA will actually boycott this, Nando, or do you think this is all a smokescreen and there's a big nothing burger and they will show up en masse? And will it matter?
I suspect that there might be like some people who boycott or whatever. I don't see it as a meaningful political kind of phenomenon. I think the vast majority of people will show up, and I don't know. I have no idea. I have no way of gauging that election because everything we know about the last election was that the state by state polling was very off. You know, that it was often off by more than the margin of error. And so I don't know what to make of the Georgia election. I can't make any prediction. I really have no idea.
Yeah, I don't either. I think the thing that was the main reason the state by state polling was off by so much, I think, was dependent on all of these people motivated by Donald Trump to actually care about politics on the right. And that, I think, was what really represents the big disparity. But if you want an actual poll result, Purdue prevailed in the last election, in the pre-runoff election, with 49.7% to 47.9% for Ossoff. And I mean, that one is actually the less close one in the polling now, but because Loeffler's down by like 7 in the polls. But I just don't know. We did ask our
how explain to me how one of them is more ahead than the, like these are just interchangeable. Like both the Democrats and the Republicans are broadly like interchangeable in this thing. Like how could there be any difference really in the polling for an election like this?
I don't
understand.
I think impossible that Loeffler's it's which insider trading thing is more sticky. Loeffler Warnock is a preacher. Maybe there's a religious contingent in.
But I mean, it's like Georgia, they know what the stakes are. It's really like they're just warm bodies for either party. Like they're not, they're. I don't know.
We'll see as they try really hard to convince people that either they are for Trump or against Trump. We're for you guys. We got to take a break. When we come, that's the end of the show. Post game is next for members. Good God, it flew by.
We get animated about the news. Yes, we're not the robots on TV. I actually care about the news. Guilty, I care.
Senator Sanders, I'm going to do something unusual. I'm going to ask you a policy question.
Hey, how dare you? That's the problem. You're the problem. Don't ever attack the Republicans. Where the is the liberal media? No. These are all establishment guys. They love the system as it is. They're all enormously rich off the system that exists.
For us, this system isn't working.
So what this campaign is about is trying to create an economy that works not only for the people on top, but works for all Americans.
We're gonna rock the boat. We're gonna be counter-establishment. We're gonna tell people the truth to the best of our abilities, and we're gonna keep it real with them.
It's winter, and it's cold this time of year, isn't it? Well, it might feel chilly and the wind might bite at your nose. Maybe you want to snuggle up with a hot chocolate or wrap up warm and wear your biggest coat. But in the grand scheme of things, our earth is too hot, and it's getting even hotter. Our seasons are getting confused. Lots of birds are nesting earlier, and spring flowers are coming out too soon. This is what climate change looks like. It's affecting so many of the things we love, both here in our own backyards and around the world. But we have hope, because we know that together we can protect them if we act now and everyone does their bit. So this Christmas, give a gift of love and show the world you care.
How in the world are you going to get the right to vote if you don't already have the right to vote? That's impossible. Reason they tell you things are impossible is because they don't want you to try. It only took 7 years for that to get an amendment to get a right to vote.
Does this result in millions upon millions of Americans losing their coverage? And we've been waiting to find out, and now we know, yes, it will cut millions.
Public education was supposed to be the way to equalize everyone regardless of their socioeconomic status. But if you come from a family that's poor, how are you going to afford grade school for your kids?
This fight is about fairness and morality. It's about the American values.
You think that black people all across the country, in every city, were all lying when they said the police abuse us and the police kill us when they should? No, of course they weren't lying. Yes, it does happen. Yes, they do get targeted more.
Why are we going to put immigrants in prison for 5 years, which American taxpayers have to pay for, if we're so concerned with immigrants using up our so-called resources?
We're gonna do both. We're gonna fight Trump and we're gonna fight the establishment. It's not that hard. Yes, you can do both at the same time. Go tell them.
ShopTYT.com has new shirts like this one. And you're thinking, Cenk, what is that one? I can't see it other than the black. Yes, so I'll show it to you. If you can read this, you're not practicing social distancing. Yes! Now, you were practicing social distancing. This is over video. But overall, you get it. ShopTYT.com.
Hey, welcome to Post Game, everybody. We're just having fun. I want to have some fun. I'm just gonna read the name of some of our subscribers. Well, first of all, on Twitch, Stanley1953 gave 5 subs. Platinum Yeti 5 subs, fantastic. And our Timmy Tape Dispenser 6 months through Prime. So happy to have spent these trying times with like-minded people. That's nice. Emily Blackwelder's just happy to be here. King of Heart, Eatwood Mac, Axamillion, .commie.
Hell yeah.
And Lula's mama here is new. Thanks for our new subscribers. We love you. Wife, no, chat is sus on what you're really doing with your phone in the shower. Thank you from wife through our little doc here.
That's your wife?
That's my wife in there going like
weighing in on the chat.
I'm not gonna say what else I do in the shower, but it's similar to what Rudy Giuliani does in one of the videos we'll talk about later. That's all right. And Cassandra Queen said, I've been a TYT follower for years now. I'm not able to be a member and watch the post games due to being unemployed thanks to COVID now. Oh man, sending much love.
Sorry.
And we'll watch when I'm able. I'm so sorry. And then she got gifted a sub. Wait a minute. Hey, Cassandra, you are a queen. People do believe you. That's a Greek mythology joke. Sorry, that is where your name comes from. All right, this is, do you have anything to say before we get into stories in this beloved postgame?
No, give me the stories, baby.
Let's do it. That's one thing. If you ever get in a email chain with Nando, he will call you baby at some point.
That's right.
All right, here we go. Andrew Ross Sorkin. So things got a little heated on this morning on CNBC while Andrew Ross Sorkin was talking with the creator of the Tea Party movement. Yes, it does have an origin story. Rick Santelli, who is, yes, indeed, still alive and still at CNBC. They were talking about lockdowns, and there were a lot of different movements to this opera. So let's start with the first one.
Can't tell me that shutting down, which is the easiest answer, is necessarily the only answer.
Rick, I just as a public health and public service announcement for the audience, the difference between a big box retailer.
Who is this?
Hold on. The difference between it's Andrew. The difference between a big box retailer. Hold on. The difference between a big box retailer and a restaurant, or frankly, even a church, are so different, it's unbelievable. Going into a big box retailer,
I disagree.
You're wearing
You can
a mask.
have your thoughts and I can have mine.
You're required to wear a mask.
I disagree.
It's science. I'm sorry. It's science. If you're wearing a mask, it's a different.
I just love the WWE, like, Chris Jericho, like listening to the other guy, like in his face, just like.
Sir, you're not that tough. Just the thing that keeps popping into my mind while this is all happening is, this is the business channel. This is literally.
Yeah, this is like what. This is what like our Wall Street overlords are watching.
It's like, I thought Coke was just the 80s, but like they must. I don't know if he's like on some kind. I don't know what it is, but like, yes, this is the guy. This is the Tea Party villain. This is the guy who basically said like, yeah, we should have a Tea Party now, and then it happened. He's the godfather of Tea Party. His justification on why indoor dining should be allowed. The altercation ended with the hosts accusing each other of doing a quote disservice to the audience. So let's take a look at that little bit.
500 people at a Lowe's aren't any safer than 150 people in a restaurant that holds 600. I don't believe it. Sorry. Don't believe it. And I live in an area where there's a lot of restaurants that have fought back and they don't have any problems. And they're open.
Okay, you don't have to believe it, but let me just say this. You're doing a disservice to the viewer because the viewers need to understand it.
You are doing a disservice to the viewer. You are.
I'm sorry. If I would like to keep our viewers as healthy as humanly possible. The idea of packing people into restaurants.
I think our viewers are smart enough to make part of those decisions on their own.
Completely different things.
I don't think that I'm much smarter than all the viewers like some people do.
Ooh, like some people do.
When the best advice I probably got about like talking to your audience is assume that they are smart, but don't assume they know everything. Like assume they are intelligent people who respond to more information because they might just might not have had time to find it. I think that's a really good guiding principle. But that is what it seems like Sorkin's trying to do there, is give them more information. And what I see from Santelli over there is there's definitely like a thing about people who are on CNBC where they're either wildly boring or they want to simulate the intensity of to kind of show you why stock traders have hypertension.
Right. Like the Jim Cramer.
Yeah. Oh God, it's happening. I gotta do it. And then they all want to fight harder for the businesses than everyone else because this is a self-selecting group. This is the business owners and the people who are, minding the ticker at the bottom when it's just a stock trade ticker, and they want to pay service to them. It's nuts. And what I hate about this is, as company, it's very simple. Companies are need to respond to the pandemic that is obviously doesn't care about whether people get it or not. Like they don't care if you really understand the threat or not. The virus is going to do damage, and we need to figure out a way to mitigate that damage. But all these people on the right are pretending that the left isn't also saying we should have some kind of aid package to pay for the negative effects of that on the economy. If we have to actually take action to make America safer, we should also give people an economic lifeline. And this guy is just the ultimate version of that.
Well, he's also just a reflection. I mean, the fact that this is on the business channel, as you say, is instructive because he's a reflection that the ruling class is split on the coronavirus. You know, the ruling class isn't often split on issues, but this is one of the rare instances where they are. I mean, there's some people in the ruling class who are legitimately afraid of the virus, and there's other people in the ruling class who just like love going to restaurants and, you know, they miss going out to like a swanky place in Manhattan because they need to get out of the house. They need to hang out with like their buddies and get plastered and have their driver take them home back to their like wives and stuff like that. So yeah, it's there's a split, and that's like what's reflected in that debate between Santelli and Andrew Ross Sorkin. But yeah, I mean, it's if you don't pay people to stay home, there will be a political movement to not stay home. Like that's just the reality of it, because people need to work to make a living, you know, like they just need to survive. And so like I have sympathy for restaurant owners who are like in dire straits and desperate because they're getting no relief and they're being asked to like basically destroy their livelihoods. You know, so it's just again a massive failure of every system that we have in place, a massive failure of leadership, a massive failure of everything. I mean, I shudder at the thought of like what is going to come after this, because it's just not going to be pretty. I mean, the politics of our country, which were already dysfunctional and very insane, are only going to get more insane as a result of this. It's just that's my kind of sense out of all of this.
Yeah, and as the Dab Dragon says in the Twitch chat, cocaine you can rehab, Republican, that's unfixable.
Oh, hell yeah.
That's really good. I do want to, this is the last bit we'll play from this guy, but here's a flashback to the advice given by one of the people in that video when coronavirus kind of reared its head on March 5th. Take a look.
Think about how the world would be if you tried to quarantine everybody because of the generic type flu. Now, I'm not saying this is the generic type flu, but maybe we'd be just better off if we gave it to everybody, and then in a month it would be over, because the mortality rate of this probably isn't going to be any different if we did it that way than the long-term picture. But the difference is we're wreaking havoc on global and domestic economies.
So let's kill 2% of America.
Yeah, leftovers. Yeah. I remember that was like a thing that certain people on the right were advocating on in the early times of the pandemic, is like inject every healthcare worker and like cop and firefighter with COVID, kill off like the weaklings, and then all our frontline workers would be immune to the disease. It was just like, wow, you are a sociopath. Great.
So stupid. All right. Speaking of, well, I don't want to say sociopath, but people who are making the social experience in America difficult to get through. This is an amazing video, and we're just gonna have fun with it. All right.
Yes.
So on to Karen. It's Christmas shopping season, so people are out at malls and such, and that means that you're gonna run into a Karen or two. Now, there was the video that you're about to see has been pitched as Karen versus Karen. The definitions that are typically understood do not necessarily apply, but there's one thing you cannot dispute. This video is absolutely everything. Merry Christmas.
And you park like an idiot.
You've been reported.
Oh, I already reported you too, baby. Let's see.
So this girl is harassing me. So she's put my life at risk and my child's life at risk. You've been posted all over Temecula Talk.
So have you.
And I wonder.
I put you on Facebook. I got 10,000 followers on TikTok.
I wonder if I was a black woman.
I wonder if I was a black woman. Get my way. Get away from my car. 6 feet.
You better back up.
6 feet.
You better back up.
I got some too.
You better back up.
I got some too.
Someone call 911 right now.
Get away. Get away from my car. 6 feet. 6 feet. 6 feet.
You're
6
done.
feet. Get away from my car.
your preamble about like it's the holiday season and you're gonna run into this kind of thing made me think of like, you know how Hollywood now can only remake old movies but like make them like lady, like like they got Ghostbusters and they do Lady Ghostbusters. This is gonna be the Lady Jingle All the Way sequel, like the Sinbad and Arnold Schwarzenegger movie, where they're like trying to buy like some sort of toy for their kid.
It's so, they have a toy. They have their toy. Each of them has their phone and they're like, this is it. I got my content. So the person who posted it goes by the name Kunta Courtney, which I think
oh my God.
Great.
Oh my God. Handle. I did not realize that. Kunta Courtney.
Yeah, Kunta Courtney. I love it. This is her post on it. She says she wasn't expecting that for pepper spray ready for Karen's, that I was ready, she wasn't expecting that I had pepper spray and was ready for Karen's back up away from my car before she got racist. It was quite fantastic. I'm not necessarily on Kunta Courtney's side here. No. There comes a point where
they're both insane.
Could pull away just fine, especially if you're back there. But they're both like, I've got it. And I do want to point out, like, you're all over Temecula Times might be the t-shirt of the day.
Yeah, we got to start that. That's the next TYT shop merch. Is going to be that. Yeah. Spread Ehrlich's face, like it's like your mugshot. It's like you're all over the Temecula Times.
I think it's Temecula Talk. You're all over Temecula Talk. Too late, Courtney. You're all over Temecula Talk. I looked up Temecula Talk. There is a Temecula Talk Facebook group that I tried to get into today, but
they rejected you.
Private. You have to say where you live, why you're interested in Temecula Talk. Temecula is like, Temecula in California is Southern California wine country. And just to give you an idea of people angry in this city, where this is what you see when you drive down Main Street, it's just like, it's an adorable Central California wine sipping town. Oh my God, when Karens collide, they may destroy the planet. So there's that. I enjoyed it. How about another Christmas story?
Please.
All right. As the nation sets an all new record for coronavirus deaths in a day, it is also Christmas time. So what, are you gonna not have a huge Christmas party hosted by Mike Pompeo indoors with 900 people? No deal. Pompeo and his wife Susan are setting the stage for the next super spreader event in the form of hosting a giant holiday party with food and drinks and music, even as the State Department is imposing restrictions on indoor events. So here is, as the Washington Post reports, State Department leadership sent out a notice to employees 1 week ago recommending that, quote, any non-mission critical events be changed to, quote, virtual events as opposed to in-person gatherings. Really good advice. But then it says that same week, US event planners were told that guidance did not apply to large indoor holiday parties hosted by Secretary of State Mike Pompeo. Why did they say that? Well, a copy of one invitation obtained by the Washington Post welcomes guests to a December 15 event entitled Diplomacy at Home for the Holidays. Invitations have already gone out to 900 people, said two US officials formerly familiar with the planning, raising concerns about a potential super spreader event. Here is the invitation. It seems to actually exist, and they're going through with it. What do you think, Nando?
I'm just trying to imagine what a 900, like who 900 people are going to a Mike Pompeo party? Like who are these people?
I bet it gets pretty wild.
Yeah, you think it gets rowdy? Do you think like they're like they have like strippers with like Reagan masks on their head, like getting crazy?
That's it. The only reference they have is Wolf of Wall Street. That's it.
Right.
So crazy as I do this.
Yeah,
no, it's just my nose hairs are long. I love the holiday party. I guess. This is not the holiday party invite that I expect from like the White House. I wouldn't think it would have like those designs on it. Like like it's one of the templates you can get at ecards.com.
Right.
But those are the details, apparently.
I just love that, like literally everyone in the Trump administration has had COVID, essentially, and they're still just like, yeah, no, we're gonna do it. Let's F it. Let's do it and be legends. And war on Christmas. The real COVID is the war on Christmas, right?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. That's it. So there's a health expert that said, I'm flabbergasted an indoor event of this kind is dangerous on so many levels. This has all the makings of a repeat of what we saw the White House Rose Garden following the confirmation of Amy Coney Barrett, which was a ground zero event for many people ostensibly getting the coronavirus. One amazing little wrinkle to this is Donald Trump has been having indoor receptions for like Christmassy receptions, had one this week. And when asked about why that would be the case, especially what Nando mentioned, everybody has the damn thing. Everyone has got, a lot of people have. There's more people there that could potentially be exposed. And they've proven that it does spread like wildfire in the White House. Here's what Kayleigh McEnany had to say when asked about it.
Is it setting a good example for the public, for the White House to be holding in-person holiday parties at a time when the CDC and other organizations are asking Americans to forego those kinds of celebrations for their own safety?
Yeah, so if you can loot businesses, burn down buildings, engage in protest, you can also go to a Christmas party. You can celebrate the holiday of Christmas, and you can do it responsibly, which is why the East Wing has noted that they'll have smaller guest lists. Masks are going to be available. Social distancing is going to be encouraged. Hand sanitizing stations, among other measures. But we will engage in the celebration of Christmas, and there will be a Hanukkah celebration as well.
Oh, there'll be a Hanukkah celebration as well. Oh, there'll be a Hanukkah celebration.
War on Christmas is in the White House too. We have to celebrate Hanukkah? That's not fair. I love Kayleigh McEnany though. I've got a thing for it. Anyway, so I will say this about Kayleigh. The idea of saying, is she inviting the looters to the party? Like if you could go ahead and loot for a minute.
Yeah, you can come on down. Come on down. Maybe we'll meet under the mistletoe. Get freaky.
Bring a gift that you loot to it. And I love that she lumps it in with engage in protests. She's like, if you're looting and engaging in protests, same thing to her, same breath.
Producer Ash has the cutest dog.
It's true.
Oh my goodness.
Really does.
You people at home are missing out. Yeah.
Yep.
Oh.
Very cute. Very interested in the production process. But I love it. I love it so much. That's one of my favorite stories of the day. There is another story that we do have time for.
Nice. I'm excited. Which one?
Yes. Yep. The farty party. I don't even remember writing this lower third. So Rudy farted and we heard it, right? Okay.
Yeah. Whoever smelled it, dealt it.
I feel like I could smell it while I was watching the video. Okay. I love this lead written by Ash. Rudy Giuliani's latest election fraud hearing in Lansing, Michigan was a literal gas chamber. It just felt like a torturous death, but very spicy, too spicy. You can taste it almost. Yep. So why is he farted? Right? He farted. Did he fart?
100%.
A lot of hot air came out during that event, but
from both the top and the bottom.
So good. So we're gonna play for you a moment. This is the same here.
The film. I'm like, I'm gonna like break down frame by frame. And just like every noise, every decibel change, we need to analyze.
Well, without further ado, here's Giuliani. Here's Rudy Pudiani.
I will ask that he be disciplined for that. First of all,
hold on.
First of all, what he says is untrue. Second,
point of order. I'm just hoping to get an answer to the other questions about Mr. Barr and others who have disproven a lot of.
I gave you the answer.
A point of order.
The answer that I gave you is they didn't bother to interview a single witness. Just like you, they don't want to know the truth. Well, you probably know the truth.
I think we all.
That woman Who is that woman?
That's Jenna Ellis.
Right. I love that you guys at TYT like follow these things very closely, and that's why I love you guys because you do it so I don't have to like know who all these people are. But like just slow motion and just the way. Yep. She's like, what was that? Like,
We actually, Nando, I'm glad you say slow motion because we do have it in slow motion. I hope there's sound on it. I'm not sure there is, but let's take a look at this.
We can do this sound ourselves.
They didn't bother to interview a
Oh my God.
Did he fart? Because there's frequently online. I've been in the online world for many years, focusing on viral videos. Webby Award winner for viral video analysis, not to brag.
Wow.
Yeah,
I didn't know that. Well done.
True. Anyways, but thank you. Not a real. It's not the Emmy, but yes. Essentially, frequently people will just add fart sounds to stuff, and it's going around. And it's crazy. But in this situation, the fact that it is so real that she kind of looks up and isn't that he did something that would require her to like recoil any more than he normally does, the giant, invertebrate slug that he has become over the years. But she whips her head around, and it makes me think that that's a fart.
Yeah, I mean, do we have the clean CNN or whatever this is from, C-SPAN? This must have been from something. We must have the clean. This isn't this. We could pull it from online, then you never really know. But if we get it from C-SPAN, I trust those people.
We could do
not to insert fart noises.
And we could do that, but we could also just do a poll to get everyone's opinion on it. So you can go to tyt.com/polls/RudyTooty, RUDYTOOTY, all lowercase.
Right.
How many times did Rudy Tooty? One Rudy Tooty, two Rudy Tooties.
Is that from The Pest?
That is from I want to say Sesame Street in the count.
Oh yeah.
Zero Rudy Tooties, or way more than that. The others were just silent.
Right. Well, that's true. We can't rule out any SBDs, any silent but deadlies. We can't rule them out. They're definitely very possible.
So Nando, go ahead.
No, what were you gonna ask? What were you gonna ask?
I was gonna ask about like Rudy's turn and what you think about how Rudy himself
he's had one of the most spectacular runs in American history in the last like month or two. He really just has. I mean, has anyone had the month that Rudy Giuliani has had? Like it's really remarkable. Like you like the Borat, putting the hand in his pants when the girl is in the hotel room, the hair melting in the press conference, just literally just melting all over his face, the fart in the congressional hearing. It's just no one's had a run like that. I mean, it's really spectacular. I mean, I don't understand. Like, I don't know. I don't think it's going to stop. I think he's going to keep going. Like what's the next thing? How can he top what he's already done? Like, what's the next thing? I don't know.
He just starts throwing up everywhere.
Right. Yeah.
But it has. Yeah, you're right. I mean, it's turned in like. For me, the like huge scale of this is baffling, and it's something that I guess has been a theme throughout the show, is that the job of the establishment media for the right has been to convince their audience and the country really that up is down, real is false, like news is fake, everything. And if it is true that they've done that, well, that explains Rudy Giuliani having people believe him through all this, either because they watch mainstream news and they don't believe it, they've been convinced not to believe it, or they don't watch mainstream news and all they see is OANN and Newsmax. And so all they ever see is a gross misrepresentation of reality. And they get to, through their own social media feeds, curate it perfectly so they don't see the other side unless it is the worst dumbest version of the other side possible. Yeah. By the other side of that coin, for us, it's really easy to find you the dumbest, worst version of them because that's who they've put front and center nonstop since this all began. That's what's so fascinating to me.
I mean, Rudy Giuliani took down the 5 families in New York when he was a US attorney, then became mayor of New York City and was lucky enough to be the mayor of New York when 9/11 happened, which allowed him to be on TV all the time after 9/11. And he was America's mayor. He was like, like 90% approval rating in the country. If he would have just stopped, like in 2003-ish, it just stopped, he would have made bajillions of dollars, like doing corporate speaking events on like leadership. He would have been a legend, like he would have, his approval, like his personal popularity would be through the roof. His place in history would be cemented as this like hard charging, tough talking New Yorker. Instead, he kept going and he didn't know when to stop. And he hitched his wagon to Trump, which was in a way kind of like wise in the short term. I mean, he was one of the few people to really support Trump when everyone else kind of was like away from him in the Republican Party, and then he just owned all of them. But in the long run, for his legacy, I mean, it's just like everyone's gonna remember this Rudy Giuliani, like the guy who's like melting on TV every single day. And yeah, it's pretty remarkable. Look, I mean, it's just the hair drip just always gets me.
Do you know how I use that product? Not to brag. It's like a powder that builds out your hair when you kind of have to fill it in when you do a shoot. It's literally carpet fibers. And it isn't like I will sweat on, I've sweated on camera before and it still doesn't melt down my cheeks. You have to be like in the shower for it to wash that stuff off. It's nuts. But anyways, we need to know what you guys think. tyt.com/polls/Rudy Tootie. And before we go, we don't have to show this, but the results of the poll for Lynn Wood yesterday, I guess it was tyt.com/poll/Lynn Wood. That's still open, but in terms of whether he's a garden variety opportunist, a brilliant Democratic troll, or a MAGA true MAGA all the way, 80% agree with Nando that he is a garden variety opportunistic grifter.
Yeah.
So there you go. That's all the show we have for you. The TYT bus keeps a rolling. We have a happy half hour after this, and then come back at 6 p.m. for Common Room with myself, John Idarola, Francesca Fiorentini, and Sloan Hughes. Great, funny people on that show. And don't forget to check out Weekends on Jacobin's YouTube channel. Nando, are you excited for your show this Saturday?
I'm very excited. I can't wait to spit out all the hot takes. They're burning up inside me, and you spit them out like I was Bowser. So
fantastic. All right, guys, thanks for watching. Thanks for joining TYT this week, and we will see you later. It's the happy half hour, everybody. It's Friday. I'm so excited to see you here. I can't see you. That was a straight lie. That's what I did. I started off by lying to you. We've had a week off. I hope you enjoyed what we reran last week. The week before that, we had Aisha Tyler on the show, and that's just about as much time as it took for me to actually get some Courage and Stone. So everybody, I make no money off of this, but if you wanted to have the Courage and Stone experience that we talked about, and also have a keepsake bottle for your own collection, that's what you do. We have an amazing show planned for you today, for as much as we plan these shows. But I want to thank everybody for joining us. I want to do a quick shout out to our sponsors. Artesian Builds made this computer that makes this possible. Go to artesianbuilds.com and enter the code TYT at checkout for up to $100 off of your own computer, and you can get it. You can watch it get made on their Twitch channel. That's fantastic. So thank you so much. And then also to Yeti for this fantastic microphone, Yeti Blue. It sounds good, it feels good, it is good. Speaking of good, we have a great comedian who is joining us for the first time on this show. He has an album that just came out called Last Wishes. Brian Parisi, welcome to the show, sir.
Thanks for having me, Brett.
It's great to have you here. Your album came out on Election Day.
Yeah.
I saw that on Instagram. You were like, if anyone needs to a stress-free hour on Election Day, this is it. So first, I just want to thank you for that.
Yeah, no problem. I feel like it was not necessarily the best day to to have nobody to have like a lot of attention on it, because there were people paying attention to other things, but it's been great.
Well, I saw on your Instagram that it debuted at #1, which, unless you're great at Photoshop on iTunes, that's amazing.
Yeah. Thank you. Yeah, it's that was I didn't have to Photoshop it. I would have if it had come in like 5th or something. I would have just changed the numbers, but I didn't have to do it. So
tell us a little bit about your album and what it's about, what people can expect from it, and where they can get it.
Great. Yeah, you can get it basically everywhere. It's on all the places that music and is streaming. But it's an album I recorded like literally the week before the pandemic hit. I got very lucky. First week, like end of February, early March, and in a crowded basement, which would no longer happen. So I got lucky in a number of ways, but yeah, it's I've been doing stand up for about 13 years. It's all my best stuff from the recent years. It's like a mix of, there's some dark stuff on there. That's why you see the funeral theme. I would say the first 7 minutes or so of the album are just mostly jokes about murder and death, but it's not all that. It's also lighter things and stuff about my life and some political stuff, some religious stuff. But yeah, it's a pretty good mix.
Well, that's awesome. Everyone check out Last Wishes. It'll keep you sane in these crazy times. Speaking of which, I asked a bunch of you folks out there what's keeping you sane and giving advice to other people to get through the pandemic. And we're going to talk about it in this segment. Stay safe, stay sane. It has been crazy. I feel like every few days I ask Alexa, I don't want to say her name because she'll chime in because we're all at home now. But I ask her how many days it's been since the pandemic forced a quarantine, March 20th. And the number is in the 240s, and it's insane. First, Brian, how are you staying sane through this pandemic?
If at all. Yeah, I mean, I'm definitely not for certain portions of it, but when I am, I find that it helps to spend just two main things. One is to spend time with small children or animals that don't comprehend the magnitude of everything. It's like a really nice, like they just don't get it. So you don't have to be around somebody who like gets it. They're like, I don't know what's happening. Like a dog doesn't know. It's awesome. I don't have one, but I seek them out.
I've seen you have been on your Instagram, or you've done videos with your niece.
Yes.
Is that during the pandemic that you've been doing that? The videos are hilarious and fantastic.
Thank you. So she's like in my quarantine bubble. So basically she's my brother's kid, and my bubble is basically like their family. They also, I lived with them for part of the pandemic. And now I'm teaching that niece the second grade. Well, not I don't want to take too much credit. She's remote learning. I'm helping. I see her all the time from that, but she loves doing like little videos. So it's great because I just use her as a comedic prop, and she's actually pretty good at acting. So
she is. It's fantastic. How are you helping her get through the second grade?
It's basically like helping her with the so they have like remote learning stuff that they're doing throughout the day, but it's kind of like doing stuff in between that, and then just trying to right now we're doing some division. We're getting to division. I'm pretty I don't want to brag, but like when it comes to second grade math, I can really do it.
I would kill for that stuff, man. I'm going through. I was always into games on my phone, but I have just I don't have access to little children, and it's probably for the best. But I have been I just want to do a little puzzle, so I'll sit there, and I have this game where if you do enough Candy Crush style puzzles, you can design a basement. It's bad. It's like HGTV and Candy Crush at the same time. And it's one of those things where there are things that make you happy, and then knowing that that's all it takes to make you happy makes you really sad. And that's where I'm at with that.
For the low bar. If you don't have access to small kids, you can do that. This is a trick I do. It's you go to the park and you sit in a high traffic bench where dogs go by. And then you just pet other people's dogs. I'm aware that this is very creepy, but I do it.
But it's only creepy now. It's only creepy because of people who made it creepy. That's not a creepy thing. Liking dogs, it's okay.
Yeah, it should be okay. I'm very sensitive to being creepy because I have a mustache, so we have to be very aware of how we come off.
It isn't worth it. It's 3 mustaches, really. On different tiers, and I can't do it.
Yes,
I'm I couldn't. I only now at 38 years old can fill this in, and that's why I do it. It's mostly of a lack of a bone structure. This just kind of pretends that I have one.
That's what I'm doing. I'm creating the illusion of a chin.
It's working. I asked some of the folks out there, happy half hour viewers, follow us HHH on TYT so you can keep up to date when I ask these questions, if I remember to do it on that handle. But I asked for people for some advice on how to stay safe and stay sane during this pandemic. Canadian Cinnamon said, take lots of long and hot showers with eucalyptus oil dabbed around the tub for the steam to lift. That made me feel aroused. So thank you so much, Canadian Cinnamon.
That is a sexy tweet.
It really is. And the photo of Canadian Cinnamon just sitting there and covering some of the face, the mystery makes it sexy despite the name being an emoji of someone wearing a mask.
Someone do research and make sure that girl isn't 12 years old. We can't tell from the little tiny circle picture. Just before you get canceled, I just want to point out that he couldn't see a full picture of this person.
Thank you, Brian. Brian looking out for us in these tough times. Legal counsel. Grazie, Steve, Italians in the house, goes, take those overwhelming thoughts and write them in a journal to type them out on your laptop. Getting them out of your head and onto a piece of paper can be therapeutic in my experience. And I'm like, oh my God, that's a really, really good advice. And I feel like it's actually trying to help. And then it makes a turn to, now if all that doesn't work, I recommend a strong gin and tonic. So
nice.
Most of these suggestions were from people like Ryan Emerald, who said same advice as previous weeks: cannabis, alcohol, TYT, video games. A lot of people said just get drunk and you'll be fine.
Yeah, my particular vein of it is you got to put alcohol in your hot chocolate. Whenever you have hot chocolate, you put schnapps in there. And that's just a rule that you have to have during the pandemic.
Brilliant. I love that advice. And the only other advice I think needs to be added is from Nick, the beard has taken over danger, who says, stare at the bear. And this is similar to your other advice of the dog. It's just
oh man.
That's a great dog.
That is a very cute dog.
When you stare too long into the bear stares back into you.
Wow, that voice was terrifying.
Thank you. That's my goal, is to terrify the audience. We'll make it up to you if you got scared. We'll come back with some fun stuff. We got a fun game to play with Brian after this. Don't go away. We talked about children earlier, so I am going to call this segment "What the F is happening here?" What the F is happening here? I don't want to say bad words. In this game, I'm gonna show Brian a close-up of something that, and then ask him basically what the F is happening here. And then Brian, you guess what you think it is, and then we'll have a big reveal party and everyone will celebrate and have a great cathartic experience. Do you understand the rules as I have explained them to you?
Awesome, I get it totally.
Fantastic. Okay, so the first round of what the F is happening here is this photo, and then talk it out. Tell me what you see and what you think the F is happening there.
Oh, it looks a little bit like a man dressed as a rat or something. A man dressed as a rat fighting a piece of an escalator. That's my best guess. I don't know why there's that piece of an escalator out there, but
I love the idea of a piece of an escalator. If you encounter a piece of an escalator, something has gone very, very wrong. Usually all the pieces of an escalator are together.
Yeah, you're never like, ooh, sweet, I've been looking for that piece. And then you put it in the missing piece of an escalator.
Alas, no. This is something that has been very, it's just been the thing people were talking about that I was very happy was in the news this week, because it's the kind of stuff that in like 5 years ago would take over an entire news cycle when you had like the bandwidth not to lament the dying of democracy. But no, this is, here's a wider photo of it. It is a monolith that was found in the Utah desert that just randomly appeared. People at least came upon it and were like, why is this monolith in the middle of the Utah desert? And what you had described as a rat. And originally when I took the photo, I thought it was some person dressed as an elephant who was in the middle of the desert to take a cool Instagram photo. No, that's actually from the Utah Department of Wildlife Resources.
Oh man, they gotta work on those uniforms.
It's absolutely true. Like when people say, oh, I love a man in uniform, they're not talking about that.
No, definitely not. They don't want to see that guy.
This was a big mystery. And the Utah Department of Safety Aero Bureau on Instagram said, counting bighorn sheep with Department of Wildlife Resources this week. During the counts, we came across this in the middle of nowhere, buried deep in the rock. Inquiring minds want to know, what the heck is it? Anyone? Now, putting it together, did you see this going around the news this week? What do you think is the story behind it?
Yeah, when you panned out, I was like, and started talking about it, I was like, oh, it's that monolith thing. I haven't really read much about it, but I mean, to me, I read it and I was like, oh, it's probably like some artist, like who else would do that? It's some kind of like a, I don't know, Banksy from the future type thing. I'm not sure what it is, but.
So this is amazing. This is one of my favorite things about this story is the person who really got to the bottom of it. And I'm just gonna read this excerpt from a Vice article. A Redditor who goes by the name Bearfucker.
That's great.
Dug into the Google Earth archives and found convincing evidence that the structure was installed around 5 years ago. So this thing was just sitting in the Utah desert for 5 years. And now those folks that came in to investigate it, people from the Utah Department of whatever, took it away. And they're being referred to as Karens of the hiking community.
I like that the guy who did the research, that like he did such good research that they had to mention him, And they were, they didn't want to. They were like really trying to not write like, and a Redditor named Bearfucker. Like, they didn't want to do that. But he did such good research, they had to credit him.
So this disappeared. And then another similar one apparently showed up in Romania. So Bachka.
Oh my God, they're spreading.
It's contagious in Romania. Apparently lately, there's one in Atascadero, California that popped up since we produced this story. So that's in Central California. They think it's an artist named John McCracken, whose son recounted, we were standing outside looking at the stars with his dad, who died since this conversation happened, who made very basically identical art installations. He said, we're standing outside looking at the stars, and my dad said something to the effect of that he would like to leave this artwork in remote places to be discovered later. And that might be exactly what happened. John McCracken, artist. So who knows?
Wow, it sounds like they need to look into where that son's been the last couple of days.
And then I just did peyote for 6 years, man. So nuts. All right, here is the next. What the F is happening here? Brian, what the F is happening?
All right. Okay. I'm seeing a cat turd 2. Looks like an account for a cat turd. This doesn't look like this doesn't look like Twitter to me. I can't tell what interface this is. It seems like cats have like something going on that we don't know about. I don't know what cat turd is. There's no turd in the picture, which is confusing.
That is true. There is no turd in the picture. However, cat turd is on Twitter. It's just that when I took this screenshot, I was in dark mode.
Oh.
Cat turd is an account that has been retweeted by the President of the United States 7 times.
Nice.
So as evidenced here by this tweet from Cat Turd 2, apparently Cat Turd 1 was taken, saying Rudy Giuliani is presenting a ton of evidence, you ignore blah, 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 or refuse blah, blah, blah. But the most important thing, it has 66,000 likes, does Cat Turd? And at the top, retweeted by Donald J. Trump. This is America for at least the next month and 2 months or so.
Dude, I've never had those kind of numbers. I gotta get on there and just start making up wild stuff. You know what I mean?
It's so tempting. It's so like every day at this network, we do a story about another grifter who's just like, I'm gonna take the easy way and see how it pays.
Yeah. There was that guy on Fox. I saw a guy who was like a truck driver who was like claiming some. It was like they just had this like on Hannity. They had this wild like panel of people who were like, and this guy drove a truck he thinks with maybe ballots in it, and they were like, did it have ballots in it? Did you get a look? And he was like, no, I don't know, I didn't really see. And you're just like, what is this? Why is this on the news?
They don't care, man.
Yeah,
they just don't care. And for the first time, Fox News feels pressure from other networks that are trying to take their audience. They're like, listen, we're the only game in town. What are you gonna do? Watch Newsmax? And people are like, yeah, I am gonna watch Newsmax.
Yeah, they're just sitting them down like, listen, Sean, I know we've never said this to you, but you gotta be dumber out there.
We know you're bending over backwards, but can you fit your head the entire way in your ass? So crazy. All right, here's the last one. What the F is happening?
Oh man, okay. This I think I actually know. I've never gotten an answer right in anything in my entire life, but I think I know this. This looks like to me one of those fake audiences because of the pandemic. I watched it with the NBA, but this is filled up with mostly dogs and what appears to be maybe Marie Osmond. I'm not sure. But I think it's dogs and Marie Osmond. I'm gonna guess that this is like whatever that dog show is. They did a live dog show and they put this in the audience to make already sad people watching a dog show feel less sad by a little bit.
100% right. This is the American Club Dog Show. Congratulations, Brian. And I never thought of it that way. Did people watching the dog show need that positive reinforcement of an audience going like, it is okay to clap at this? There are other humans into it. No.
Do you think they like piped in crowd noise to fuck with the Shar-Pays or whatever? Just to get an authentic experience?
He's not distracted. He's not as distracted by the people in the audience doing the wave.
Yeah, right?
Oh my God, that's fantastic. Yes, they didn't just have it in some warehouse. They needed to have it in a warehouse, but simulate the utter scintillation of a live audience. But instead of having people who are really fans of dogs send in their own faces, they had a ton of actual dogs. And I can't confirm this, but I'm gonna corroborate that it was absolutely Marie Osmond.
Thank you.
Fantastic. All right, so you got 1 out of 3, which is better than the average in this game. Thank you, Brian. We gotta take a break. When we come back, we got the best thing ever of the week. All right, it's time for the best thing ever of the week. We try to point out 1 or 2 things. This time it's just one thing that is really the best thing in the universe this week. And it is brought to our attention by an article on Motherboard that says, burn away 2020 with this interactive dumpster fire. Send an email to this website and it'll burn your troubles away live in a dumpster. So this is a group of people who have designed, as we'll show you in a second, they've designed a system by which if you are feeling like there's something It's very Jewish. It's actually a Jewish thing. You write it, you throw it away, you put it in the fire and it burns it and it all goes away. Speaking from experience, from one of those 2 holidays that the people that you went to school with got off, they were Jewish. I don't remember, I'm not that Jewish. But essentially, you can send them an email with anything. They'll print it out and you can watch it go into a literal dumpster fire and be incinerated. So I volunteered. I sent them an email to dumpsterfire@hey.com that said burn it all. And I emailed it into them. And wouldn't you know it, as we'll show you, this is the experience that you too can have where they take it, like automatically comes out of the printer as long as you don't say anything too offensive. This wasn't my first try. And it prints out. It goes down the conveyor belt, and in a second, you get to actually see the piece of paper that says burn it all. The fire starts, it gets fed into Hades itself, and then you get that very cathartic experience of it being incinerated before your very eyes on a Twitch channel or dumpsterfire.email, because there's not a lot of money in this. You can't afford the .com. So Brian, that's the best thing ever of the week. What would you put in the 2020 dumpster fire?
Oh man, I like that. I would like to put some actual things in there, but I guess symbolically through email. There are some things I would like to burn. I would like to burn. I mentioned that I've been spending a lot of time teaching my niece. I would like to burn the game Candyland. I've spent too much time playing it. It's not a good game. It doesn't make. There's no skill to it. It doesn't make any sense. There's weird characters like Nana Nut that I don't appreciate. And in general, people who are young children tend to object and cry when they lose. It's not a good thing. I would throw Candyland on the fire for sure.
I remember playing. It was at my grandma's house, which means I only played it when I was 2 years old. What is the game?
It's you pick up a card with a color block and then you move to that color block. There's no sense or skill to it. It's kind of crap.
Stupid. It's making stupid children.
I would burn. I had a phase during the pandemic where I got into leopard print menswear briefly. I would burn all the evidence of that, Instagram pictures, probably the clothing itself, and then I think.
Wait. What motivated the leopard print thing? Did you have it and you were like, I'm gonna wear it, or were you like,
No.
I've got a lot of time.
Yeah, it was sort of like, screw it, everything's falling apart. I'm gonna do some online shopping for the weirdest stuff, and leopard print menswear is where I landed. So it all got sent to me, but yeah, I would definitely burn all of that. And then I think the last thing that I would burn would be Donald Trump Jr.'s book, just the whole book. If they could print out every page. I don't know how expensive that is for them to do, but if they could just bring and just burn that whole thing, it feels like every time you're burning stuff in a fire, that should be like just very common kindling that we all use.
I'm so like, there's a few things that give me like a instant jolt of pleasure, and one of them was that I couldn't remember the name of that book. Like I knew it happened, but I was like, what was the name of it? Oh wait, I don't remember. That's fantastic. Triggered and liberal.
Yeah, the reason you don't know the name of it is because you're part of the liberal media that's destroying America.
I'm fake. I'm not real. There's no me that is a real human being. I think those are some really good options. I asked some folks, I asked some of you what you would throw in the dumpster fire. I got neoconservative. We got some pretty expected TYT answers like neoconservatism. Max Rule said Trump, but step back, you'll be spattered by hot fat. So that's true. I heard from Pasta Zasta that the Mulan reboot would be something. I haven't seen it yet. And then also
that is so specific.
Like I had hopes for you, but it sucked. I got COVID to watch that in a freaking AMC, and I totally saw that trailer, and I was all about it. The idea that Pasta Zasta was like, it's not good, breaks my heart a little bit. But for me specifically, it's like, I want to burn everything between me and caring about the Mulan reboot.
Yeah.
Because like I used to, that was my job. My job was the pop culture guy. I was all about like, well, let's talk about how realistic it was, and like I gave a shit. Now I felt like I don't have the bandwidth to care about other things. Like they also said, Justin Bieber's album changes. It's like, didn't know it happened.
Yeah, and you feel better now that you don't care about that, right?
It's both. It's like now that Trump lost, I'm like, okay, great. I have the luxury of going back into it. I'm sad that Trump losing did that to me, but the thought of like everything else that I used to like, I have four extra hours of not like cultivating all these Trump tweets. I can actually focus on Moulin's Reap. They should do a communist one, just Moulin Rouge. Okay, so the other thing is, for me, it's like the things I actually want to throw in the 2020 dumpster fire are like non-elastic waistbands. Like it's that basic. This shirt, I love this. You can get it at shoptyt.com, our quarantine shirt. But honestly, like I have not worn a pant in a while. It's pretty hacky, but like I haven't worn a pant in a while. I'm wearing the same things I show every week. I'm wearing the Japans.
Oh wow.
These are these weird, I got them at Uniqlo, and I'm wearing like crappy like REI wool socks.
Dude, I can't believe I wore jeans to this interview. If I had known how casual it was from the waist down, I would not have worn jeans on this show.
I'm sorry that you did, and I'm sorry that, well, I'm proud that I exuded the kind of, commanded bit of respect you felt like you had to afford me.
Definitely.
But I'm glad that you did, and I'm grateful for that. I'm grateful for you being here. Tell us again about your stand-up special and where people can find it.
Yeah, it's called Last Wishes. If you search for pretty much iTunes or anywhere that music is, I'm in my last name. I mean, you can see there, but it's Paris with an E after it if you're listening. And just check me out and follow my Instagram at Parisi Comic. I post about it on there, and I also post videos with my niece and other stuff too.
And it's super great, and you're fantastic. And also, when I was looking through your Instagram before the show, a lot of people who've been on Happy Half Hour are commenting on your Instagram, so it's a cool little family. So thank you so much, Brian, for being with us.
Thanks for having me.
All right, we'll see you guys next time on the Happy Half Hour.